one.
Oh my God, we're live. I'm gonna freeze.
Hey guys.
I'm gonna freeze.
We're
it's
live.
Just so exciting. Right
Red
on,
light
man.
syndrome at its finest.
Yeah. See, now we've got. This is what happens every week. Is all the best jokes happen during setup, happen during level check, and then the episode is just like, what are you up to? Oh, I don't know. This is what I'm up to.
Oh, were those your best jokes?
That was it.
That's it, dude.
That's it.
I mean, we're out of them.
We're done.
Oh, Brad, I hope you don't mind. I told everybody in the post that I was putting up that I was interviewing the real life Moby.
Son of a bitch.
No.
I'm just kidding.
I corrected. I said I'm here with the real life Moby.
But I'm not vegan.
Oh wait, it's Brad Smalling from Evergroove Studio.
It's actually
way better.
It's actually Moby James Keenan.
Moby James Cannon?
Keenan.
Moby James Keenan.
That's solid.
I got it.
That's solid.
Man, so like
Also a crossover I would listen to.
so like really socially awkward spooky girls love you, right?
Yeah.
Like the really like moody like sad girl types and sad boy types
Who go to
really
the club.
really love Moby and love Maynard James Keenan. And if you ever wondered what their love child would look like, it's Brad Smalling.
Maynard James Keenan Ivory Wayans. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, that would bring people together,
The
I
Ivory.
think. It would be Maynard James Keenan with a sense of humor. Like, he has a sense of humor, but it's kind of a mean sense of humor, you know?
Maybe it's I don't know. I don't know the guy, but
Well, I'm just making judgments based upon what I've heard from other people, which I understand
think
is the
that's what
best way to go about
it's absolutely
forming
That's what we do.
absolutely
attributions
the way to go.
about
That's
people.
Right. That's how we do.
Hey, welcome to episode number 80.
80.
Number 80. We've
Wow.
done 80 of these, dude.
Neat.
Starting from little tiny cell phone.
Oh, that's
like
why he asked us to clap.
Yeah. You got to clap so we can see how the clapping sounds. Yeah, it sounds good. All the clapping sounds good. Yeah, welcome to episode number 80 of the motherfucking podcast. This is, of course, the official podcast of the International Power Rock Combo, Motherfucking Ruckus from Denver and Chicago, respectively, the Rad in Colorado, and certainly the Rad in Ineradicable. That means we won't die. I saw the word ineradicable and I was like, that's us. We won't die. We put the Rad in ineradicable.
There it is.
Nice.
Yeah. Man, I am very excited about this episode. It is an exciting week, and we've got an exciting couple of guests in here to talk about it.
You do?
Yes. And for people who like
Waiting
listen
outside.
to the podcast and like everything but the content that is directly about our band, you're not going to like this episode because we're going to talk a lot about making this fucking record that we've been working on. We're going to talk a lot about making a killing.
Ha ha ha.
The new single that just dropped. We're going to talk about the studio process because I am joined today by none other than Mr. Brad Smalling and Mr. Ethan Kotel from Evergroove Studio, who we mention as a sponsor on every episode of the show. Yeah. I think we've mentioned you guys we've mentioned your name in some capacity on all 80 episodes of this podcast.
Thanks,
Hey.
man.
I'm pretty sure.
Thanks.
Because we
Appreciate
love you
that.
guys so much. So
We love you.
we are streaming this episode live today. If you're listening
we're
to it
live.
on Stitcher or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you missed out. Make sure you catch the next one by going to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/MF Ruckus TV. Subscribe and hit the little notification dingy. It's not as annoying as some notifications that are out there. Like I do,
That's good.
I only get notifications about stuff I subscribe to, so I don't get too mad. It's not like, hey, you haven't posted in a while. You should post.
Exactly.
You know,
I don't wanna.
I generally keep all of my notifications off, but I'm okay with getting YouTube notifications whenever something goes
Yeah.
live. So if you want to catch these live stream episodes, go to YouTube and sign up on that. For those of you who are on YouTube watching this, all 2 or 3, maybe upwards of 12 people right now, welcome to the show, man. Welcome to the stream.
There's got to be
Plus
at
all
least
of us. Don't forget
1,000
all of
people
us.
out there.
Yeah,
You're
plus all of
forgetting
us.
in these 2
You're
rooms.
forgetting the booth.
Well, hold on. We're getting there. We're getting there. The live stream today has been made possible by Evergroove's video guru dude, the Everguru himself, Mr. Hey, do you like that nickname?
Evergreen.
We
the
could go with that.
Everguru.
The Everguru.
It's not the worst.
Actually,
nickname
it's
I've
very
ever heard.
fitting.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
cool.
I like it.
That's nice. I like that.
We'll talk about it.
Please welcome Ethan Klein to the show for setting
you,
up our
everyone.
Thanks for setting up the live stream, dude.
Yep.
And of course, my favorite person to ever be on this show. I like him so much that I forced him to come and help me produce the show. Please welcome Gordo G. Gordelstein, Franken Gordo G. Gordon of Gordophonic Records. Yeah.
Hello.
The one and only Jason Gordon is in the house. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Not well.
Poor guy. Poor guy. Gordo is a suffering bastard right now. And I appreciate all things considered that you are here. And if you feel
If you see me wince and run out of the room, don't be alarmed.
Oh no.
Gordo has kidney stones. Gordo has.
No.
And he was telling me at before we got started that it hasn't even gotten to his penis yet.
Oh no. No.
Oh, no. It just left my kidney and into my bladder, and that was the worst pain in my entire life. Writhing on a gurney.
Have you done any
So much
research
to
on the
go.
different stages of pain?
Oh god.
I'd kind of rather not at
I
this
mean,
point.
it's
After
kinda-
experiencing the worst pain of my life, I don't really want to know if it's going to get any worse than that.
The
Would you-
worst
I mean, would
pain
you
of
rather
your
be
life
sup-
so far?
Would you rather be surprised by it when it gets there, or do you want to like,
Yeah, that's it. The suspense is killing me.
oh, how bad is it gonna hurt when it reaches my wiener?
Yeah, it's just
be a scale
it's
of
going
1
to
to
make
10?
itself present.
Dude, I wonder. Like, I really wonder if it's worse internally in the organs, like up in leaving your kidney and traveling through, or if it just gets way worse when it gets to your penis.
Well, I'll be sure and let you know.
Yeah, please follow this story
I'll
closely.
send you an email.
Will you live stream that too?
Oh, yeah.
Facebook
Yeah,
Live.
everybody wants to see that.
We're going to get a scope inside your urethra, man.
Just him in a hot tub, like a bath.
That would
hot
be
bath.
super high tech. This is all high tech, enough, but like that's going to the next level.
That's
right
the next
there.
step,
Well,
dude,
you're
in our
right. We
plan.
only have these two cameras to work with, so
I mean,
Gordo?
The urethral camera.
Gordo, when we sat down and we
Band name
made our
called it.
vision board for this show, I believe that was in the at least top 5 bullet points of our vision statement was
Urethra
one
camera.
day we will get to the point where we can put a camera in your pecker hole.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a goal.
Goal number 3.
hole for the goal. The goal is the hole.
The goal for the hole.
the
whole
goal
goal.
is the whole.
The whole goal is the whole.
Actually,
of the goal.
before we record every episode, Gordo and I go into the booth and we put our hands in. We have a little huddle and we just go, the hole is the goal. The hole is the goal. Yay! Let's have a good show.
Don't let them in on everything. Then there won't be any magic just for you and I.
There's no mystique.
No wonder the door locks.
No, dude. I mean, man, anybody who's listening, if you have any suggestions for how Gordo might get through this as pain-free as possible, like, he would certainly appreciate it.
It's not going to happen, but I would appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm sure he also really appreciates me talking about his dick hole live on YouTube. But
Sure.
I'm
It's a pleasure.
dude. I have a passion for men's health. I have a passion for dick health, man.
Especially yours.
No, but then I was telling him, we have a collection, and I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but nobody's watching this anyway.
God.
But we have a collection. We have a collection of gall and kidney stones at home.
Wait. What do you mean?
Whose?
Wait,
Yeah,
which,
he just
hold
told me
on,
this
hold on.
prior to this
Yeah,
episode.
yeah.
This
Really?
is true,
So
apparently.
we as then that we, or you? There's a whole other we going. on.
No.
Because that was a really interesting
You
transition that just happened.
yeah,
right
you
there.
cannot include me in this we.
Oh yeah,
No,
I
no.
said. I guess I did.
But
like,
you get what happened, right?
I was going we.
We went from dick hole to we.
Ah,
Oh, there's a little.
we went
little, it's very
we
punny.
all the way home.
Jesus.
Sorry, I hang out with a 7-month-old.
This isn't gonna get any. This isn't gonna get any better, man.
No,
So-
it will. It will. Right now,
No,
we're
it
getting
won't.
the sillies out. This is how the top of the episode always is. You got to shake the sillies out. You got to get your yayas out.
So I have to know though whose kidney stones.
Oh,
these
okay.
are.
So,
Oh, and why?
so my wife
Oh, right.
used to, before she became a mom, she was a corneal retrieval field technician. Like, she extracted corneas from corpses' eyes.
Oh.
Like, she worked for the Rocky Mountain Lions Eye Bank. Before that,
So she extracted lion corneas.
lion corneas. Yeah, she would go every time a lion dies at the zoo. They call her in and they go, "We need you." No, but before that, she was a gross room assistant at, what do you call it, St. Joe's. And the gross room is a part of the pathology department where basically every time a surgeon takes something out or does a biopsy or someone has a limb amputated or someone passes a stone or a whole variety. Anytime tissue needs to be examined by a pathologist, it goes down to the gross room, which is where they do the gross big picture examination of the piece of tissue. It's also ironic because it really is a gross room.
I see.
It is a gross place.
I thought its name was literal. Because it's a gross room.
Ew!
I thought that's why they
the hospital's just like, that's the gross room.
What do we call it? We'll call it the gross room. Yeah? Oh, okay.
I'm here to see Dr. Klein in the yucky department.
Actually, we have a little segue here. Did you work in a gross room?
No, I worked in a decontamination room.
He should tell his story.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Wait, what? Klein works in a
quick
hospital?
quick segue, and then we're going to come back to the gross room.
Well, we can finish yours and come back to this because it ties in.
Good
Let's
call.
finish yours because what he used to do is terrifying.
Okay. All right. I want to hear about this. All right. So Sarah. So what Sarah did is she basically assisted the gross room techs and the pathologists by making running the cryostat, making where they'll freeze a piece of tissue and then they make little tiny paper thin shavings out of that to put on microscope slides,
or pasta,
or pasta. So she knows how to run a cryostat. She would take every once a month or something like that. She'd go and get all the expired bottles of tissue that are stored in formalin for a period of time and dump all those into a spaghetti strainer or a colander.
See, pasta. I told you.
Pasta. And then clean all that out and dump it. She had to dump guts pretty regular. It was a pretty nasty job. And when you're dumping guts, you end up with a lot of stones in the bottom. So over time, she would just kind of collect these gall and kidney stones in jars in the office. And when she eventually left the job, she took one of the jars with her home, and we have it in our curios case in our living room.
So is that just a reminder to do the best you can to eat healthy, or to go the other direction?
They just look really cool
because you want your own.
And to be fair, dude, my wife
look really cool.
My wife is kind of a Wednesday Addams.
Good.
She's so we've got a lot of spooky, creepy, dead stuff at my house.
I was just gonna say,
awesome.
It's always when you see weird stuff and it's so cool in an antique shop when it's this is a bottle of gall and kidney stones from the 1920s, and you're like, whoa,
right?
What kind of weird serial killer had that in their house? And
right.
It's no, it was just Aaron Howell and his wife.
just his wife, dude. No, I mean, and who knows? Maybe in 100 years it'll end up in some curios shop where people are just ooh, this belonged to some lady for it. She passed away recently, and her kids found it. And, okay,
she was the wife of a Satanist.
What did
awkward silence.
Klein? So tell us about. First of all, say hi. Say hi to the people.
Who?
Hello, people.
Hi, people. Okay, so tell us about this job that you have. You worked in a decontamination. What now?
Yes. So I used to be a surgical instrument tech, and it was really nasty.
You cleaned surgical instruments.
Every surgery uses instruments, and my job was to clean those instruments. And the bloodiest surgeries were ortho surgeries, and so they would come back with pieces of patella and shards of femur. All kinds of nasty stuff
from shaving bone off and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah, but have you guys ever put patella on chocolate chip waffles?
See,
it's really good.
Oh, dude, did you try the patella M&Ms?
Yeah.
They were so good.
They're actually so good, though.
Dude, they discontinued them. I was so mad. I went out for snacks the other night, and I was like, ah.
I mean,
did they really discontinue them?
Yeah.
That's sad.
The patella M&Ms.
Yeah.
They kept the almond ones.
Fuck.
They have. What I like to do is I like to take the pretzel ones and the peanut butter ones and get a bag of each and then pour them in my hand and eat one at the same time. One of each at the same time. I put one under each molar and I get the peanut butter and pretzel mix. Now, and for a while there I was throwing in the Nutella ones too. Sorry, patella.
That makes sense. Patella ones. Come on, dude. Come on.
Have you?
All right, be serious.
Have you
And-
had
Be serious.
Be serious.
Have you had the cookie spread?
Wait, what?
Okay,
The
yes.
Patel-
That stuff is amazing.
It's literally life changing, and I am
Dude,
currently.
Europeans eat candy for breakfast.
It's
I mean, yeah.
unbelievable, and I'm currently on a quest to try one of every kind of candy bar that's currently released, because it can't be
Good
done.
luck.
I go to a lot of gas stations when I'm getting gas and whatnot, and there's always a million new candy bars.
Have you
just
tried the
looking
new
at you.
Reese's stuff?
No.
Unbelievable.
Oh,
It's
dude.
unbelievable.
They have Reese's peanut butter cups with Reese's Pieces in them.
What?
They also they discontinued the kind that had pieces of cookie bars in them. It was like Oreo cookie bars.
What?
It was so good. It was
an
like
unjust world.
Dude, I'm a
'Cause it was
professional
crunchy. It adds
snacker, and you're
crunch.
blowing my mind.
it
right
adds crunch to the Reese's, and it's next
That's
level.
really all you're missing is the crunch.
Honestly, that's the
Well, 'cause
worst
then-
part
yeah.
about a Reese's. Is
You
that
bite
there's
in
no
and
crunch.
it's but you need the crunch.
Yeah, you need the crunch.
Texture.
Yes,
They also have. So Halloween just passed,
it did.
and
Oh, I'm sorry.
so. Yes, we lost Halloween this past week. Halloween passed this year.
We have a moment of silence. For
Oh
Halloween.
my God!
I kind
I'm
of
so
think
sorry. Are you okay?
sorry.
We lost Halloween last year. Yeah, we all lose them every year. Anyway, so
What are we talking
so
about?
we went out and
Whatever
bought
it
a bunch of
takes.
candy for trick or treaters, and we wanted to have the best candy in the neighborhood.
That's
you
nice
know,
of you.
instead of doing well, we have a lot
Did
of
you
kids.
do
in
full size bars?
We didn't do full size bars.
Oh well.
But we have a lot of kids in our neighborhood who, like, they're first generation trick or treating, so don't know how it
It's
functions.
like, I
or
don't know.
anything.
Let's just try.
Yeah, so we get excited about it when like we get all these kids from Eastern Europe and
Yeah.
the Middle East and Southeast Asia and all these places, and they come up to the house and get candy. So we go out of our way to get like wicked candy, and we got the little Oreo bars, the little mini
Yeah.
Those
chocolate
things are
Oreo bars.
So good.
Well, and then we got this variety pack that had regular Reese's peanut butter cups, regular Reese's Pieces, glow in the dark Reese's.
Wait.
That can't be healthy.
See, now this is the thing. Don't get too excited. Don't
I
get
just,
don't
like,
get too excited.
what?
It's
'cause,
just so your poop glows.
dude, I saw that on the label and I went, no way! And I opened it up and I'm like looking at the piece of candy and I'm like,
Yeah.
how does this glow in the dark? And Sarah like slaps her head. She goes, the wrapper glows in the dark, sweetheart.
Oh,
And I went,
holy
oh.
shit! I'm an idiot.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was right there.
Yeah.
I guess you can't. So it had those in it, but then it also had the outrageous peanut butter cups, which is the cups with the Reese's Pieces in it.
That's pretty outrageous.
And then the outrageous bars, which is like the Nutrageous, but instead of having nuts, it had the little tiny mini Reese's. And we pretty much ate most of that stuff
See,
before the kids even got
and
there.
So we've gotten to
that's-
candy within candy.
Yeah.
That's what's happening now. Candy
It's-
within candy.
And that's why companies are
extreme
so
candy.
stoked for Halloween, because they know that like about 40% of their candy sales are for actual children. And
Right,
then
right,
the
right.
rest is
Capitalism,
just-
man.
Yeah,
It's
that's
all
how it
just
works.
adults being stoked to have an excuse to eat candy.
I do. I do.
When you said, I thought you were gonna say adults being stoned, needing to eat candy.
Oh yeah,
was
that
like,
too.
that too.
Yes,
yeah.
and that
and-
makes
Of
sense.
course,
Yes,
all the
and,
time.
bro.
Either
Yes,
stoned
and.
or sad. That's really the only.
Oh.
That's the major.
I've
Dude, that's
cornered
where
the
those
market on
demographics
stoned and
cross over.
sad,
That's that.
Aaron.
Stoned people, sad people, candy bars.
So, as
right.
somebody diagnosed with a depressive disorder
Right.
and who smokes a lot of pot,
oh,
I have invented. Yeah, sorry that you had to find out this.
dude,
way.
you're right at the other end of the Pareto distribution.
Oh,
like you're
I've invented so many great snacks, though. You have no idea.
you should get a job working for a candy company.
You're not wrong. That
because
would be good.
like we are living in the time of just nostalgia
Yep.
and stuff mixed with stuff. Like that's like, oh man, you know what people would really love?
Yeah.
Is if we took this candy and we put it inside this candy. Dude, what if we made a brownie waffle?
I feel personally attacked.
Dude, what if we made a pancake brownie waffle? Ah! What if we made a pork chop milkshake? Ah!
No, but shit. A
Pork chop.
pancake brownie waffle
Called it.
sounds so good. It would be a waffle with brownie like dough in the batter.
So what
right?
kind of pot are we smoking today? We're
is
smoking.
A-dub.
This is the A-dub that
And
we're
then the whole thing
smoking,
would be wrapped in a pancake.
which is what?
A
what's-
dub. Is that short for something, or is it just a dub?
Oh, dude, this is my namesake brand right
A-dub.
here. A-dub. This was named after me.
You don't have to
agree.
ask.
No, I don't know what A-dub is.
Oh, it was an Aaron joke.
Yeah.
Aaron.
Dude, I've got a guy who calls the shop several times a week whose name is Aaron, and I hit him with the Aaron jokes every time he calls. And he's like, we now know each other. We've never
for
met
it?
face to face because I never end up giving him his order, but I always take his call. And I'm like, hey, is this Aaron D? And he's like, yeah, it is. What's up, Aaron H? How you doing? And I'm like, dude, pocket dials, are they the worst or what? And he's like, oh, no. I'm
Guys
like,
just airing out.
yeah. I'm like, dude, that Key and Peele sketch, is that fucking annoying or what? Oh my God, so annoying.
God.
I haven't even seen it. Me neither. I don't need to, dude. It's just like, I'm like, you're always the first to get invited to a party, though.
Sounds like a special bonding moment.
Yeah, it was
That's
cool.
like meta customer service voice.
Well, it's not meta because it's very specific. It's very, very specific. It's like I can only make Aaron jokes with guys with that same exact name.
That's right.
With the
So it's meta
AAR.
Aaron then.
Yeah. Well, it applies to it applies to
Yeah.
all Aarons. Yeah,
Meta-Aaron.
absolutely.
Meta Aaron.
Yeah.
Back to stoner food.
What are we talking about?
I just was thinking as we were talking about it, you've had a waffle cone, man.
Waffle cones are great.
What about a French toast cone, man?
Wait, what?
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
If
Game
no one has
changer.
come up with that, they
Where?
should come. And I don't
You'd have
mean
to
like,
achieve the right thickness to bendability ratio.
I think it would be great if it was extra thick. I think it would be good if it was thick and a little bit spongy.
But it'd have to be like this thick around, which not that that's an issue, but you'd be shoving this in your mouth. Try this for me.
It would
Aaron.
be about
Put
the-
your hands up like this and shove that in your mouth.
Listen, I've taken bigger cylindrical things than that before.
I know you're in a band with Tony Lee.
Well,
there it
then you let's not get carried away, okay?
There it is.
Yeah. There's a reason Tony's that good at guitar, and it's just say that it's making up for a few things. One thing specifically.
Gotcha.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us. This is cool.
I really appreciate you being here. I really appreciate you coming and checking out what we're working on here at the Nug Nation.
Really, really cool.
It's a super exciting week because we rolled out the new single this week, man. And man, I wanted to.
What?
Did you bing?
He said the
None of your
word bing.
business.
Ah.
He said the word bing.
I can bing if I want to. What do you fucking care? Excuse me.
So I want to talk about Evergroove. I want to talk about you guys going into this is year 13 or year
13.
You're in the 13th year.
We just celebrated 13. Yeah.
That's incredible, man. Like, so what would you say has been the biggest change to Evergrooves since you guys started 13 years ago? Like, what is the biggest difference now to when you first started out? Did you just start out in your basement? Did you just because I don't really know about the beginnings of the studio. We came to you 3 years ago, so you were 10 years in. You know what I mean? You had already gotten so much of it figured out. Like, what would you say is the biggest? Like how far have you come in that time? Like, what did it look like?
It
way
actually
back
goes back farther than 13 years. I started teaching myself audio in '99,
then? Okay.
and through various avenues.
This is when you were playing, right?
I hadn't even. I mean, I wasn't in bands at that time, but I mean, I was still a player.
So this is after you had
player.
already stopped. I was a player.
was
This
a
is like
player.
after you stopped playing in bands altogether?
Yeah, like Jenny and I did some moving around the country, following jobs and stuff like that, and then we kind of got tired of doing that. And so during all of that, I wasn't playing in bands because like.
Because you're
You know,
moving.
We moved to Memphis, and we were in Memphis for a year, and we moved to like far northern California, and where there's nobody, and just focusing on work. And then,
Like where in Northern California?
there's a little town about 2.5 hours north of San Francisco called Ukiah,
Okay.
and there was a Masonite manufacturing facility there. Masonite did like hardboard siding, and they do like doors, like
Right.
hollow core doors, and
Is this like up around the Oregon border, like near like
It's a little-
Klamath
it's-
Falls and
it's-
stuff like that?
no, not quite that far.
Okay, cool.
But up in Mendocino County.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So yeah. Aaron gets it. So
Oh, it's just good pitch.
yeah, right. It's just appropriate. So point being, like, I was still playing guitar, but I wasn't active in bands.
Right.
And I'm trying to. It's potentially a long story. I'm trying to.
We got
truncate
time, man. We got time.
Funny thing is, like, I always wanted to learn audio, and I almost went to college for it, but then I got tied up in other jobs, and so then we moved. Anyway, let's fast forward a little bit. We moved to Colorado, and kind of feeling a bit comfortable, and so I was like, I wanted to do this thing. I'm gonna start teaching myself, and I had met someone who worked back when Keyboard Exchange was open. I don't think they're open anymore.
Keyboard Exchange.
Yeah, it was over. Where was that? It was near 6th and not what.
That is
maybe
before my
was.
time.
Yeah.
What year are we talking about here?
It wasn't that long. It was 99.
Okay.
Yeah, 99. Because when we moved here.
Okay.
Anyway, he gave me an employee discount, and I got an interface, and just kind of like dove in. Anyway, so I just kind of fast forward, and we moved from Boulder to Evergreen, and we were looking for a house with some property. With a building that we could convert. Like, we had a plan at that point. But the plan wasn't to actually have Evergroove the way it is now.
What was the plan?
Well, it was like, we'll have a small outbuilding that we'll convert, and which is kind of like ease into this thing. Well, find the house that we're at. Had a 2-car garage with a shop, so an oversized garage. And originally you've been there, so originally we were just going to we're going to leave the garage and just move the studio into the shop. So just that live room area was going to be a live room and a control room. So Evergroove was going to be like a third of what it is now.
Oh, really?
And we started looking at this thing, and I was talking to acoustic guy online. His name's Wes LaChaux, and we were throwing some ideas around. And Jenny and I realized, like, if we want to actually do this for real, otherwise it's just going to be a joke in a way. Like, not that you can't do
right. You
good work in this,
dove
but, like,
all the way in then.
we went head first.
So at this point, what kind of bands are you working with prior to this build when you guys go all in? Are you just doing
some acoustic
like
stuff,
interface
rock
and
bands, mostly remote stuff at friends' houses, things
oh,
like that.
like bringing an interface and some mics and like a preamp or whatever, and going...
we had, to be fair, like, I had built a small home studio in our basement from our first house. I just put a thing in and just started. Just early digital recording
types of setups, and Kyle Jones actually gave me a great analogy once. Is he started getting it? You know, he runs the studio where they did Handlebars by Flowbots. And I went over to visit him because we were working on a White Fudge thing, and he had started getting into modular synthesizers. Nice. And he talked about it, and he was like, it's just like starting a studio or building a train set. He was like, you buy one piece of equipment, and then it's like, oh man, you know, it'd look really cool if I got the bank to go in the town, and I got the little jail where the bank robbers have to go, and you know, the people are gonna need...
absolutely correct.
Yeah, they're gonna need a little general store.
You have your entry drug, and it just builds from there.
Right from there.
Yeah. And like a model train set, nobody wants to listen to you talk about audio either. It's wild.
Right.
That
You're
is
like
so very true.
You're super excited about it.
At this point, everyone's already tuned out.
Yeah, right.
They're like,
oh my God, listen to this snare, and they're like, that sure is a snare drum.
Cool. No. People who do give a shit about audio are going, yes, finally, talk about it. But like I have to, you know, you use the word truncated. I have to truncate a lot of my stories when I go home to, like, you know, Sarah goes, what have you been up to? Or how are things going with the band? It's just like, oh, we're just working on this thing. You know, and it's, or like, I get really excited. Like, I'm like, oh, we've got the Evergroove guys coming down today, and they're bringing a piece of equipment that'll allow us to live stream it and do multiple signals at the same time and do things on our channel.
You see the gloss.
Dude, instantly.
And it's not like condescending. Exactly. It's not like I know more than you. It's like, I know that you're genuinely not interested in this, and that's okay.
Like,
it's fine.
It's people are excited about different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like, and anyway, So at this point, you're doing, again, pretty standard rudimentary digital recording setup, mics and things like that. And you guys are recording in the shop up at the house. Like,
no, once we moved, I would go out and I would still go out and do remote work and bring it back and like mix it.
Right.
And up in the loft.
Oh, up in the loft at the house,
okay,
really?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you guys have a cozy little cabin in the woods. It is meant for 2 people. Like, it is a pretty minimalist setup, and it's perfect for you guys.
there's a whole basement that people don't realize exists.
And that's your
That
space.
we've gutted and redone, and that's Jenny and I's.
That's
like,
the baller ass space.
Well, that's, I mean, yeah.
Correct.
And then the upstairs area is. So really, the upstairs area is
man,
just
if you
the
go-
part that you guys open up to bands when they come stay up there.
Yeah. So when you
That's so
went up the
bitchin',
stairs,
too.
like I used to have a desk up there with monitors, and I had a little digital mixer and like screwing around with that stuff, and just a lot of experimenting on just like learning mic placement, and like I
Right.
spent a lot of time focusing on theories and like really understanding recording.
Just diving into other people's techniques.
Yeah, and then learning some of my own. Yeah, but the studio thing was like when we talked to Wes, and we actually flew him out. So let me back up. When we talked to Wes, he gave us a price on designing. And I remember this moment. Jenny, I remember this moment pretty clearly. And I mean, we all know from articles in science, like memories are flawed, but there's a moment in time. We said we need to go to dinner and talk about this. And there's a cool little Italian.
That's a big number.
Yeah, there's a cool Italian spot in Conifer called Madwell's, JJ Madwell's. And so we went there and we sat down. We're sitting across from each other, and we've got his contract, and we're looking at this contract, and we're like, well, are we gonna do this for real? It's kind of like, are you gonna or get off the pot?
Right.
What are we gonna do?
You can say shit. It's YouTube.
Oh, maybe my mom's watching.
Mom,
If your mom is watching this podcast,
She might.
She
She might.
she's not going to like what
she's
she
one of our top
finds if she
fans.
digs
She's
deep
great.
enough.
My mom's freaking cool.
Yeah.
Anyway,
She's
all right,
pretty
so
blue.
yeah, it's
she's
like,
a
are we
top
gonna
fan.
are we gonna shit or get off the pot? Like, what are we gonna do? And we said, let's go for it. And so we called Wes the next day and said, let's go for it. And then he goes, all right, I just need a deposit. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Right.
And it immediately starts. But man, he flew out, and so back then it was a garage, and we opened the garage door. So we pick up Wes from the airport, come on down, and we open up the garage, and we'll first load him into the house. And there used to be a guest room downstairs. Like, the house was totally different. And so he set up downstairs. He's like, all right. So we set up like a folding table, opened the garage door, and he just sat right there, just inside the garage, and just said, all right, I'm going to work on it. And he just sat there, and he just stared out. Like
into the
across,
space.
like if you walk out of the studio, no, out.
Right.
He started by staring out and taking in the whole landscape first. He was out there, but we kept like
Just
speaking
staring
out the
at it.
window, like, what's he doing?
He was visualizing
Is he
it.
still there?
He was building it in his
Yeah.
brain.
And then he 4 hours later, roughly, he comes in, he goes, I got it. You want to see it? Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Come
yeah.
on. So we go out there, and it's a table, and back then he would do all his blueprints by hand.
That's so cool.
So he already had like a rough blueprint. He already had like this blueprint grid paper stuff.
Yeah.
He already had it drawn out. He goes, there it is. And it was like that. It's so simple, but so, or no, maybe it was obvious to him. We were going through all sorts of plans that were just like, because
Well,
I was trying to.
What I really like about the space is how modular it is. You know, it's like you've got the control room, and then you've got the tracking room, and it's like you can move pieces around as you need to.
Absolutely.
You know, that big room becomes whatever you need it to be.
That's right.
Even the studio, and then the studio is designed for the long haul. For sitting there comfortably and working on the project and making it sound the best it can and making it the most creatively conducive room it can be in.
Right.
And then there's like one little storage closet, and that's it as far as the actual footprint of the building.
Right.
And you can get so much out of that room.
Right.
Now, maybe I'm hallucinating this, but earlier on when we went to see you, didn't you say that this had some relationship to God City?
Yeah, I'm careful about that because Kurt's got his own space, and I don't.
Well,
I don't
but
wanna
it's part of his.
And
But
Kurt's
it's part of
amazing.
his resume.
I don't
Like,
want, right. I don't want to coattail, but the point.
I think it's important to speak to what this guy's level of expertise is the only reason I bring it up.
Sure.
No, so Wes Lachaux designed God City, and Kurt was finishing up God City Studios about the time that we were kicking ours off.
Right.
And
And what is God City known for, just to give people some context?
Converge.
Chelsea Grin.
Chelsea Grin, yeah.
Or not Chelsea Grin, Chelsea Wolf.
Or
Chelsea. Oh, really?
Very
Chelsea
different.
Wolf.
Very different.
So
band.
do
Sorry,
you
Grin.
guys?
Sorry, Wolf.
So is it the same footprint, or it's just the same?
Well, the thing at that time,
Contractor
like
that-
Wes as a designer, like most designers, he has a vibe, and he has a style, and he has an appearance.
Right.
And so at that time, his studios looked a certain way. And so
Right.
if you look at Wes Lachaux Studios from right around 2006, they look a lot like an Evergroove.
Right.
And there are times when I've seen photos of a God City on Facebook, and I'm like, I don't like, it's a picture of a pedal board, but you can tell it's our like the diffuser wall design. And I'll go like, what band is that? Like, I don't know, who is that?
Is that one of ours?
I don't recognize that pedal board because I don't know. You just remember, I don't know, running a business, you remember everything comes through. But I'm like, what is that? And you go, like, oh, it's Kurt's spot.
You moved down to the
Right.
You moved down to the caption. It's like, had a great weekend at God City Studio.
Like, oh,
Like,
crap.
word.
Yeah, so it's a really, really similar design because it's done by the same designer.
So is that what you consider, when that construction was complete, is that what you consider day one of, like, when you count the 13 years that you've been in business, is that what you count as day one, was the day that was finished and you got in there and started doing stuff?
So so for us, it wasn't the day that we were done because we were finished building probably June. But then there's like some wiring and then like final touches and then put a band in the room to test it out and then like feeling kind of good about it.
Right.
We consider like roughly, it was right around September 7th. We went to, in Fair Play, they used to have the South Park Music Festival.
Right.
And it was cool. It had like industry panels at this big log house mansion thing where you go and hear people talk about audio and
Fair Play.
and then band. Yeah, it was really cool. And bands. And we consider the day that we opened was like, because we went to a festival as a business and we had business cards and like that for us, that was kind of like.
And you're just going soliciting artists at this point?
Yeah,
just to come in and try out your space.
Cold call.
Yeah. Just cold calling, beating on doors, so to speak.
Right.
But we started building. What's interesting is we started building in 2003. Because we did most of the work ourselves, we didn't open until 2006.
Oh, okay,
It was
cool.
a 3-year build.
So here's something that's kind of popping out in my head as I'm listening to this. This sounds like a lot of work and a lot of investment of time and resources for a hobbyist.
Right.
So you must have had some sort of compelling business vision for doing this that made you want to take it from just having your home digital recording setup to jumping in to doing this studio. What was the decision that made you think that you wanted to like go in and like really go all the way and invest into creating an amazing, because it is an amazing studio, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Like, we're very proud to have recorded there.
Thank you. I'm proud to have you all there.
We don't shut the fuck up about it. I love that space a lot.
Thank you.
So tell me about that, like that decision.
So the decision really was in chasing some of those jobs that Jenny and I were chasing. And during that time, I'm teaching myself how to record because I've got a day job. And like I said, we were feeling.
And what was your day job at this time?
Actually, I was a enterprise level server administrator.
Oh man!
For International Paper, Media One, ATT Broadband.
Oh wow!
Yep.
He was a nerd.
Just like running and maintaining servers? Is that what you did?
I was on a team.
Setting up servers?
I was on a team of 5. It was me and 4 other guys. And we had an amazing team and did server support. We just server farms, like 600 servers.
Wow.
That we maintained.
So you've always had something of a tech acumen then. So that translates very well into like your knowledge of gear and systems and everything that you do over at Evergroove.
And interesting enough to that, a lot of that experience, like we learned from working for big corporations, we learned what can work and what you should just never do to your employees.
Right.
Like
no, right.
Like
no,
the
for
people
real.
that you work with. And like, or hey, just make sure you follow up or answer the phone or
right.
Do kind of stuff. But so to that, I had been laid off, and the thing that jump started the project was I got a small severance, and the severance didn't even cover the full build.
Right.
But so we looked at this severance and
what do we want to do with it?
What do we want to do with it? And we could put it in the bank, and I could go get another IT job. But the reality is I went to school for music. I wanted to originally be a studio engineer. I almost went to school for that. So Jenny admitted, this is a crucial point too. She's like, you haven't been yourself in a while.
Right.
You hate your job.
Right.
Don't go back to that.
Right.
And so we said, well, let's make a future for ourselves. Let's stop relying on other people for income.
Right.
Let's start our own business. It'll be a long haul. It's the arts business. Like you're in music, like starting a business in music is like
right.
No one starts a studio to get rich.
Yeah,
No one
it's a
starts
fool's
studio.
errand, but it is a ton of fun.
It's, oh my God.
Yeah.
So much. It's that the decision to open a studio and to just kind of take some chances
Right.
has taken me place I never thought I would.
Well, and I didn't see, and I guess what I didn't realize is I didn't realize that your education was in engineering and music and all of that. Anyway.
Well, in music primarily. So, and that's another, like the whole computer thing. I needed a job.
Right.
I realized that even though
and that was an industry that was hiring a lot of people, especially in the 90s.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I realized I didn't want a guitar performance degree because at that time I was either going to be a session musician in Nashville, New York, or LA.
Right.
And I didn't want to do that.
I don't think I've heard you play guitar.
Yeah.
I want to hear you play guitar. In fact, I think Gordo, I want to make a mental note, and when we do the homies shout out at the end of the episode, I want to include something that Brad recorded on. So keep that as a mental note.
boy.
Be thinking towards the end of the episode of something that you'll want to like add on for the final for
Not sure what that
the
would
post production version. You'll have to listen to.
And if all else fails, we do have a guitar in the other room.
We do have a guitar in
Well,
the other room.
Just because
so we might put it in your hand and embarrass the shit out of you live on YouTube.
Just because I went to school for 2.5 years for guitar performance doesn't mean that I have what I had.
Listen, I just couldn't decide on a
look.
major. It was either that or baking. I couldn't.
It was,
Honestly,
But-
yeah.
yeah. But I mean, I guess where we were going with all that was we decided to kind of take that into our own hands.
Did you mentioned after college having an interest in being an engineer? Was that something like a passion that you had for a long time, or is something you just had an interest in? Like,
It's kind of a passion. Like I was like a lot of young guitar players. Like I would chase tones.
Right.
But I noticed that I chased them a bit more aggressively
Right.
than my friends.
right?
They were like, "Oh, I just got this cool PV at a garage sale, and it sounds great." Like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't know why. So I mean, guitar. Like,
Do you hate Tony's PV Bandit when he rocks on that thing?
No, a little nostalgic.
I do.
You hate
Do
that
you?
thing? I think that thing sounds, dude. That's the,
He can make it sound pretty good, honestly, but
he gets so
Yeah,
much
it-
shit for it. Like guitar, but like when we go play for people and they've never heard us before, they kind of look at Tony's setup and they go, "Who the fuck is this guy?" And then
Oh,
he
here
gets
we
on
go.
and does his thing, and they're like,
And he just shreds.
"Does nobody tell him?" Like,
Yeah, right.
Oh, he's like Rain Man.
He's like,
I get
yep,
it.
Yep.
It's my question about
He's like,
time.
"This is the amp I
Right.
like." So,
Well, so Jenny and I actually went to. This is how close I got to going to school for engineering. So at the time we were living in North Texas, we got in a car and drove to Nashville, and I toured Middle Tennessee State University, which still has a great recording program. But the cool thing about MTSU is they had a audio production and then like music business.
okay.
And then being right outside of Nashville, and I had made an acquaintance that graduated from music business, and she was working at Warner Brothers at the time, doing cool stuff. I was like, oh, that could be cool. And so we went, and then came back, and I applied at the same time. I got asked to do like technical writing or something for a buddy's startup software, whatever,
Mhm.
right?
Party on.
And you're right, and it, and you're like, oh, that's cool. And then it kind of went from there. Like I
Right,
didn't
right,
go
right.
to school for computers either.
Right.
It's just always
It's something
been
you just learned by doing.
I'm gonna do that, and then we'll figure that out.
Dude, I think we might see the end of universities within a few generations. I think we might see the end of it. I
That's
think we
a hot
might.
take.
I think we might see. No, seriously. I think we might see a way to change the education process in general, like, and to be able to track people's progress and their knowledge on and their mastery
Right.
of subjects.
Oh, that's fine. Like I agree. Like I can see a change in that, but at the same time, universities are starting to offer audio engineering programs at an alarming rate
Right.
and build millions of dollars with like these $1 million facilities
Right.
and graduate kids into an industry that isn't necessarily. You don't go and apply for a job.
Right.
We've talked about this a little bit. You have to be driven. You have to be a self-starter. You have to get out and like beat the
Well, and you have to
pavement,
meet
like-
people, and so much of
Yep.
it is relationships. And when you talk to people and you go, "How did you get this job?" They go, "Oh, I just hung out a lot, and then they taught me how to do stuff."
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm saying in general, like with general education. I think it's just going to change, and it's going to be a lot more a la carte.
Sure.
You know,
I would welcome that. I think it'd be really
you know,
good.
I do think, I think it would be cool to like the way like a liberal arts degree used to work, where you just got this like well-rounded education. I think we'll see more like package education like that, where it'll be like, oh, I want to do like some sort of humanitarian package, so I'm going to learn about all these things and all these things and all things, and I'll do a little time in the Peace Corps, and I'll go on and do this.
An artist we work with, Nick Vaughn, big shout out to Nobud. Nick Vaughn graduated UC Boulder, and he created his own degree.
Really?
He went to him and was like, look,
See, I think this is
look, here's what I want to do. And they were like, yeah, well, let's maybe add a little to that and add a little to that. Like, yeah.
That'll probably
At the
be what ends
same-
up happening with the universities then, is they'll do the accreditation,
Yeah.
but they'll work to create systems that are more designed to people just like creating their own specialty.
At the same time, though, and I am very comfortable saying this, that I would welcome that change to education as well, but I will always want my doctor to have, gone to years of medical school.
Not a
I
YouTube
do
medical
not-
school.
I do not want my
That's the-
doctor designing their own medical degree. I want my doctor going to medical school
Right,
and
but
getting a
that's-
medical degree.
Surgeons are now
Universities-
But that's what I'm saying, the
remotely working on people.
That's what I'm saying,
But
though, right?
they still have to learn how to
they're
do that.
logging, they're
always-
logging in and like joysticking.
Yeah,
and,
robots and lasers and shit.
I'd be pretty
I
much fine
think
with
that's
anybody
probably-
getting up in me, just
I'll
working
see you
around.
after.
That'd be fine, you know.
Jesus Christ.
As long as they pay me
I
enough.
don't know why I'm sticking up for the
Pay me
entire
enough
medical
money.
field here, but apparently that's my job today. But
No.
I'm kidding.
But that's why I'm saying is like there will definitely be a need for some sort of governing administrative body that oversees the accreditation up to certain standards, and then
right. And the
HIPAA is going to have to approve what makes someone able to perform surgeries on people. But I'm just saying, like, I think the need for the brick and mortar facilities where you go and you are taking the classes that they think that you should take to get the certain number of credits, and I just think it's going to function much differently.
yeah.
I don't disagree.
But one of the things I also wanted to get to is part of what you've been able to do since doing this studio, and you mentioned learning how to treat employees through what you learned working for big corporations, is you were able to mentor a lot of people. That's how Ethan came to you, right? Is you came to Evergroove as an intern, or you came?
No, not an intern.
No, you just
I
came right in as a for hire engineer.
No. Well,
Let's talk. Let's
God,
talk about.
it's so.
All right,
so
let's get this
talk
out
about
on the
that.
table.
All
Let's
right.
talk about this.
All right, listen,
All right, fine.
everyone.
Here we go.
Fine, listen.
here you go. You asked
Me
for it.
and Brad are dating. Okay.
There it is. Sorry,
There.
Mom.
And
Sorry.
furthermore,
And
no.
we don't think it's any of
and
your business.
And frankly, I don't know why you're asking about it.
Can you believe this?
Unbelievable.
I can't believe it.
Unbelievable.
No, okay.
So I'm standing up. So no.
Realistically, how did you come to be in Evergroove's employ?
So what's funny is that, and Brad and I talk about this a lot, is that our stories are hilariously similar as to our like background to starting in audio. Like I also went background, hang loose. I also went to
Hanging loosely in the background.
Yeah, exactly.
So hang on loosely. Sorry.
That's a good song.
That was and
That's a good one.
again pitch on point
And a good
today.
lesson.
I'm really So I went to music school for a couple years, and then I left music school and decided to eventually found my way through getting day jobs and everything to going for engineering for real. And the last day job I had before I decided to go for audio engineering full time was working as a marketing copywriter for a company called Rally4, which helped nonprofits fundraise, basically. We sold digital technology to nonprofits to help them fundraise, I guess is more accurate. So when I left that company and decided to go for audio engineering full time, I contacted Brad and basically said, listen, and this is, I'm glad it worked out. But I basically said,
I'm glad it worked out.
I'm glad it worked out.
That being said,
I basically said, here are some holes in your marketing that I think that I can help you fill.
oh really?
In return, hire me as an audio engineer and like, let me shadow you for a while I work full time.
That's
for you
a
doing
fair
marketing.
deal.
Yeah,
It's a work trade.
it was a work trade.
That's really cool.
And so in return, Brad, in lieu of pay and other things. Brad gave me like free studio time and stuff. So I started building my own client base and getting people to up into the studio to work with, and building my own client base that way. And eventually, over time, Brad came to trust me enough to have me take.
How long have you been with Brad for?
It's almost 2 years now.
To be clear, I didn't
2
trust
years.
you. I just didn't have a choice.
Yeah, there you go.
I just needed some help.
All right.
I wasn't able
I
to do it.
had a family emergency. I couldn't reschedule the client. Like, you just.
That's really great,
Kidding, I
man.
totally trusted you.
Yeah, so I basically just came out with a lot of confidence and was like, here's what I can do for you.
Right.
Hire me. And Brad was nice enough to say, let's get dinner. So then,
The first interaction was you said, I want to be your intern. And
right.
I said, but I knew you did marketing.
Right.
We are a married couple.
We are married.
Right.
And
we finish each other's sandwiches.
Oh my God.
Gross.
When we met, I love this story. I love when he
But
tells this story.
because we have actually really strict intern policy.
Okay. What is your strict intern policy?
We only accept students that are a part of a degree or certificate program from an accredited college or university that require the internship as a condition of completion.
Okay.
So, I've almost memorized that.
Cool.
Yeah, really good.
And so I said, I can't take you as an intern, but you have something I need.
Right.
So let's.
And I
get
said,
better.
what?
You really invite collaboration and mutually mentoring relationships.
I do.
Like, you have Ethan comes in, he gets free studio time, he helps you out with marketing. You got Ethan Klein in there who's like, gets to have a studio to practice his craft as in broadcasting and video engineering. And I mean, what would you say that you go like is the symbiotic relationship that you have with Brad, Ethan?
I get to test all this new technology that my company's making, and we get to do it capturing like amazing musical performances.
Right.
So that's where the craft comes in.
Because you're mostly involved with like the Evergroove live video series that comes out, and our motherfucking Monday series. Check it out on the YouTube channel.
Yep.
Yeah, we did 2 seasons of that bitch. 32 songs, man.
We should do more.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
should.
we should totally do more.
So okay.
It's so much fun.
We can actually jump into some of the stuff that I've been excited to tell you guys
Really
about.
quick though.
Yeah.
Ethan Klein was an intern too, and then my assistant.
Okay,
for 2
so you
years.
started out as you were his assistant for 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm taking over. I'm just slowly absorbing.
Well, every Ethan gets absorbed into the amorphous mass.
If your name's
of
Ethan
Evergroove.
and you want an internship,
Yeah.
give me.
the
don't do
Ethan
that.
entity, the Ethanity.
Ooh.
But there's been set like you invite collaboration, like you invite a lot of people where it's like let's figure out a way that you can help advance our mission, and I will in turn give you resources that I have to help you advance
we all
your
win,
mission.
right?
Right.
And when one of us wins, we all win.
Now, was that part of your initial mission when you set up Evergroove, or that was out of necessity because you just needed help to get it
I
going?
couldn't even think that far ahead, man.
Right.
Like, we by sheer circumstance, because
Right.
a lot of, I guess when we launched our first website, studios weren't really doing the SEO thing, and they weren't really doing like the really online marketing.
It was
thing.
pretty new, like putting,
Yeah.
really getting into
Right.
what you can do with content on your site, and
just-
social media wasn't really a thing yet.
Dumb luck. We had a page on our website titled "Recording Studio Internship," and it was an article that we wrote about our internship program that we would take
that
an
nobody
intern
had
and be like,
participated in yet.
that no, I mean, we were just like, that's gonna happen.
It exists.
Yeah,
And the next thing you know, we started getting all these inquiries.
right.
And I went, why? So I went to Google and I punched in recording studio intern, and it was right at the top of the page. I was like, oh, because we weren't getting local people.
Right.
We were getting students from Ohio and like New York, or I mean, just wanting to intern. Which I thought was really interesting. So
because
that was,
there was at that time there wasn't as much available for students. Is that what it was?
no, the students were starting to utilize the internet even more. So like, well, I need an internship for school.
Right.
And the ones that wanted a different experience were just searching Google in general for recording studio internship.
Right.
And the very first probably top 3 sites that came up.
He probably
You guys were in the top 3 sites.
We
that
were
came up?
number 1.
They probably had the highest domain.
How do you think that happened?
It's called domain authority.
It's just we
It's
had
called domain. Explain that to me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So basically, and I might be talking out of my ass here. It's been a while since I've read an article about domain authority, but basically what probably happened is that because they had an article about a recording internship program before basically anybody else, because other recording studios would have
Weren't doing
started
that?
getting websites later.
It's
Then
just, we had a
You
page
guys
up
were-
that talked about
you
it.
were
It's
just early
it's
adopters
of the
2006.
technology.
It's just organic.
2006 is kind of early internet
It's
to
still-
a certain
it's still
point,
pretty
you know
early.
Dude,
what
you
I
guys
mean?
were
think about
very
it.
early
Yeah.
adopters
Yeah.
of the technology.
Yeah.
And
It was
that's because
not on purpose.
No.
That's
it just
because
happened.
you guys are tech nerds and ahead of the curve, man.
And
pretty-
it
pretty
still comes in
fucking
handy
geeky.
when our internet shits out this week and Brad can jump behind a modem and figure it out real quick.
Right.
Yeah, you'll notice. Like the first thing I do is not call CenturyLink.
Right.
'cause- By the way,
Which is the-
CenturyLink, fix your shit.
Dude, don't even
Seriously.
get me started.
Dude, I
hate
hate
CenturyLink.
CenturyLink
So
so
bad.
much.
So bad.
But
I
we
hate
all
that
have
thing.
Jesus
CenturyLink.
Christ.
I know.
And that
We can't let it turn
called
into this.
vertical
So
integration.
Dude, my
Okay.
phone network,
Anyway.
phone network works fast. All I'm going to
So
say
angry.
is that my phone network works faster than my Wi-Fi,
Yeah,
and
I
I've
was-
called them multiple.
When my Wi-Fi is
Anyway,
shutting out,
anyway,
I use my
let's,
phone as a hotspot. What a
Fuck
world.
second century, dude. Watch, they're just gonna pull the plug on
Yeah,
this
like,
feed.
oh.
They're like, "Hey, fuck us, fuck you, bing."
Well, if you don't like us.
If we suck so bad, ka-chunk.
Yeah. But yeah, we're a bunch of geeks. We really are, and we geek about it. It's just
Well,
tech,
but
tech, 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 tech.
So I went up there after
You
the
don't really
build.
talk about anything
I went
else.
up there after the build, and it shows like you guys and your.
That's right. You saw the debut.
I saw the debut,
Yeah.
and just like, it's awesome to see how neurotic you guys are down to a detail of the equipment. You know what I mean? Like you guys are so into technology, and you're so into creating sounds and you're like chasing tones, like you said earlier.
Right.
It shows up in every single little detail of the studio. And then when people and I get in there who don't know anything about the technology, it's just like, it's like being in a fucking spaceship, man.
Good.
It's like anything we want to do, you're like, yep, I can make that happen. Just give me 1 second. And bam, 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 bam. You slap a bunch of shit together and we're off to the races, man. Or I want to create this sound. It's like, okay, well, this would have been the miking technology at the time, and we're going to
Right.
do that. Like, one of the things that we did that I was really excited about when we first went in and started recording with you, and I want to get into the stuff about our relationship and our recording process and kind of what we're doing now and what the future is for things that we're working on, because I think it's really excited, and I think that bands that are 20 years younger than us, I think we can save them a lot of time with a lot of the things that we've learned. But
They won't listen.
I remember when we went in and we were talking about the different sounds we wanted to get.
Yeah.
You went in and just went, okay, well, let's set up this many mics so that we can take mics away if we need to. And if we want
Right.
something to have an older, more 4-track sound, we'll drop down to 4 mics. Or if we want to create, like, we mic'd the room with that in mind from the very beginning of the project.
Right.
And that's just like one example of kind of the way you think about process and the way you think about detail and the way you think about creating sounds. And it was something that I noticed right away when we went up there and started working.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
I forget where I read this, but being a bit more geeky and just I did a lot of reading leading up to opening the doors. I read somewhere, I forget who said it, but it was make the studio transparent. The studio should be transparent. So if the artist says, and you pointed it out, and thank you for kind of validating, that was really cool. It's like, hey, I want to do this. And you're like, yeah. When we say, no problem, I'll make that happen. Even though the whole time, Ethan and I are behind the console going, crap.
How do we do that?
How do we do that?
Right.
But
it-
you never say,
Yeah.
you never say, to those that are thinking about opening studios or getting the customer service business, unless it's just dangerous or ludicrous or whatever, then you can say, no, that's not a good idea, because you just go, yes, and.
Yeah.
It's that improv thing. So, hey, I want to do this. Yeah. And just give me a second.
Yeah.
And then you kind of shuffle around, wrap a cable as you think through it in your head, and then the band will go off and talk about how cool this is going to be, and that gives you a lot of time to solve that problem. Instead of, I don't think we can do that. I'm gonna have to. It's such a vibe killer.
Or that'll sound like shit. Or that'll suck. Or
just, dude, I'm not set up for that.
And if you
I don't know how to do it.
I mean, we'll figure it out.
The thing about being in the studio is that if you start compromising, like about creativity at that early stage in the process, the entire process is going to be flawed from there on out.
I like how the tracking room is like this workspace. You know, you go in there and it's like, you feel comfortable with like, oh, you know what we should do? We should work on this part of the song. So let's move this thing in here, and we'll push that into the middle of the room. And man, what are we trying to get as far as amp tone? Let's grab this amp, or let's pull this fucking organ out of the corner. And you know, like when we had Vaughn play on that A4.
Oh, that was
you know,
so cool.
It was so cool. Too bad we're not going to end up using that song, but I know. That is an off mic conversation, but that's a bummer. But what I mention about you guys a lot when we talk about Evergroove on the show is I mention how you guys are like producing engineers. You know, how so many studios you go to and it's someone just sitting at the board who is trained to just do whatever the client or the producer says. And that's it. Just like, I don't push buttons until you tell me to. I don't do anything that you don't ask me to do.
Right.
Which is kind of the default, it seems like, for a lot of studios. Gordo, did you run into that before you started like recording on your own at home? Because you do all the Granny Tweed stuff now, right?
Yeah.
Was that mostly just out of like curiosity of wanting to learn it, or was a big part of that
very
like going
similar
to studios?
to what these guys were talking about. I just had an interest in it on my own, and I did intern a couple of times at a couple of studios and kind of learned, I kind of saw what the business side was all about, and the engineering side. But yeah, ultimately, going back to what you were saying, Brad, most of the stuff I learned is from working with other bands, and like figuring out what they wanted and figuring out how to get that.
Right.
And that I've learned way more from that than any class I've taken or any book I've read or anything like that. Like that's what it really pushes your boundaries, and you're like, oh wow, can I do that? Let's see if we can do that.
Right. I didn't even think about trying it because I don't live in this person's brain, and they have different objectives artistically. And
I record a lot of my own music, and like, you know, if I don't think of it, then you know it doesn't happen. But if I work with somebody else, it's like, oh yeah, of course, let's try that.
One thing Brad taught me early on that I've really lent back on a whole lot is that if the artist hears something, they're hearing something. Basically, that's all it boils down to. It's and it comes up a lot in mix recall, especially in that stage when somebody is like, "Can you I want to hear the guitar be a little bit poofier." And then, like, also smaller, but then, like, with a little bit more size.
That is such a hard thing to try and communicate.
Right,
to
and it's like, and you have to just steady yourself and be like, all right, it's not that they don't know what they're asking for. They know exactly what they're asking for.
They just don't have the language.
Don't fucking know how to explain it, and that's like,
I asked one time when we were working on Thieves of Thunder. I was like, I just want this one to sound dustier. And now having like worked with you guys and learned more about how to communicate those ideas properly, I've like learned better ways to communicate. And and I think that it's important for any artists who are watching this or listening to this now to know that probably what I have found is the best way to communicate it. And maybe you guys understand, and maybe you guys know a better way, but the way I communicated a lot of ideas with you is just through reference material.
I loved that.
Is just going like, we want this song to sound like this section, or this song off Metallica, Ride the Lightning.
Right.
We want this song to sound like Agnostic Front, Cause for Alarm. We want this song to sound kind of trippy and old school like Deep Purple.
Do you guys have a Wilco button?
Yeah, right? But see that gets the big picture, but it's really about getting down to like the distinct elements and going like, I like this guitar tone, I like the effects that they're using, or like I'll bring up like, I had trouble explaining wanting when we were working on Thieves of Thunder, I had trouble explaining wanting this Rob Halford style effect on a vocal.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And then we went into the studio and it's like, oh, that's a flange with this and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And we were able to kind of build those things out. Like, I remember one day we were in the studio and all we did was, while we were getting ready to track, we were just sitting around listening to reference material.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's like, we're getting ready to mix this. It's like, here's Faith No More, Angel Dust.
Yep.
Like, in fact, I think when we did It's a Mess, that was one of the main pieces of reference material was like the whole album, but particularly Midlife Crisis by Faith No More. It's
Exactly.
like, this is like the effects that we want from this song.
Yep.
These are the tones that we want to have.
Reference material is the great translator.
Yeah.
Right.
Because dustier. Like,
Yeah.
Like what?
Dustier, like
and then you
what?
put it on, and
Like
the artist
the
goes,
Old
see,
West,
listen to those
or-
vocals. And you're like, oh.
Puffier and smaller.
Dustier, because dustier could mean anything like, we want this to sound like it was pressed to a vinyl in the 30s, to like, we want this to sound like it was recorded in the middle of the desert in the Wild West.
Right.
You know what I mean? Both of those would be totally valid interpretations.
Well, and I
of
even
that.
found out that terms like brighter and darker or warmer and cooler, like when I said those, I've actually said that to you, and you've been like, I don't think those mean what you think they mean. But
keep
show
using
me
that word.
But show me what you mean.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it's like, I can bring up a song and go, this is the specific sound that I know I'm looking for on this. And you can, and I think there might be some people are embarrassed to do that because they don't want it to be known that they are mimicking.
Yeah.
But everything is derivative.
Yeah.
All art, all creation is derivative.
Exactly.
Well, and just
to some
because you're
degree.
going for the sonic palette of whatever doesn't mean that your song is going to sound like whatever.
You're not going to
Yeah.
stop using red or blue in
Yeah.
your palette just because another artist uses red or blue in their palette.
exactly.
You know
I
what
gotta
mean?
ask though, what did dustier end up translating to?
It didn't end up working on the song.
Okay.
Like it didn't end up happening.
Gotcha.
But what I was looking for was more 60s garage MC5 type of just kind of noisy tambourine sound. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like I wanted like 60s revolutionary rock sounding shit.
I got you.
That's the kind of creative input that can lead to a Dick Punch trophy.
Yeah. Hey,
My
who will get the Dick Punch trophy next?
I don't know.
It looks great
Dude,
right
didn't
there.
it
It's
go-
in the perfect lighting right now.
Didn't
honestly.
it go to someone else and somehow magically ended up back here? I thought.
Yeah. It
What?
was, well, I mean, it ended up in my fucking closet for a long time. But before that, it came from a number of bands and it passed through and came to me through Randy.
But it came on the show, and didn't you give it to somebody
I
on the
presented
show?
it. Yeah, I presented it to you, dude.
No, but you presented it to someone else too. I mean,
Yeah, you and
since
Tony.
The show, no, since the show, I thought it seemed to
Here it
disappear from
resides.
the show for a while.
Here it resides.
Yeah, the Dick Punch trophy, any old hoot. Yeah, so like that, something that and this single that we just dropped. How long has it taken us just to get this single out?
What single?
Making a Killing, the one that we just what single? Three.
That
what
was 3
single are we
years
talking
ago.
about? Yeah, it was 3 years ago.
I don't think it was. Was it 3? It wasn't 3.
It was
2020 might be going into year 3.
2017. Yeah, I
It's
think.
been a long time. We've been working on this stuff a long time.
Yep.
And I think that the big reason for that is because we didn't just go in and rush through the process and do some kind of like turn and burn recording process. It's
Right.
like we set up appointments to go up there and spend the day working on the different elements of these songs and the way that we wanted things to sound. Like, we put a lot of time into each and every one of these songs.
Exactly.
In a way that I've never done before.
And it's worthwhile to mention that the entire time you were also constantly doing other content as well, and
Yeah,
coming
right.
up to the studio to record MF Mondays and doing a whole bunch of other stuff.
Right, right. We did a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and involving the fans and friends and family, like
Right.
the gang vocals on these songs are so special.
Yeah.
Because we
Because
brought
they're-
people
they're-
up for the day to hang out.
Yeah, but they're diehard fans of the band.
Right.
They're family members of the band. Like, I mean, the backing vocals on Polyamory.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
that-
yeah.
the
those are
Rockettes,
great.
man.
Yeah, I can't wait for people to hear that one.
Yeah, I know. And it was just like, that makes it something that is, like, what I really love about your studio and just your property in general, like the space, the environment, is it's like, don't just come up, check into the recording studio, pay your money, do your time, and get out. It's like,
Oh, you should
come
hang.
up,
Yep.
come up, spend the day. Let's load in the night before,
Yeah.
get everything set up. We'll sit down, we'll have dinner, we'll talk about what we're going to do.
You can stay here.
Dude, that was one of my favorite things, is when Tony and I stayed up there,
Oh yeah.
and we got up the next day, and before we even started the session, like, you went and fired up the studio, and then we went for a hike.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I took
Yeah.
you guys out on Maxwell Falls.
Yeah, we went on a hike on Maxwell Falls, and then, like, went into the studio just, like, in this headspace, just, like,
Yeah.
relaxed and ready to work. And you guys make space in the cabin to, like, hang out, and there's the wood burning stove. And we went out when Jan was in country. We went and shot guns on the porch.
Oh,
and the
yeah.
Evergreen police showed up.
Yeah,
and
Jeffco's finest.
Yeah, man.
Which we have, to be clear, we have a good relationship with them. That was
They were very nice.
no, they were very nice.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
like,
They're like, have you guys been drinking? And Brad's like, oh, yeah.
well. She to
This
be
guy-
fair, she turns around and
You had a
I
beer
saw,
in your hand.
I saw like lasers come out of her eyes.
Yeah,
and
to the beer on
she
the
saw
counter.
a PBR can.
And she's like,
What are you
okay.
gonna-
next to an
You're not gonna.
AR-15.
You don't say no. at
Well,
that
what
point.
was funny is they were just like, okay, so you can't do that.
You can't do
Yeah.
that. And we went, really?
And we went, okay.
But you were like, I haven't been drinking. Like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
then
yeah.
you shoot all day long.
Yeah,
Yeah. That was
They were.
great.
They just came up and they were like, "So do you shoot often?" We were like, "No, this is the first time." And they were like, "That explains the call. You shooting into a hill?" We are like, "Yep." They're like, "All right."
Have a good one.
everything was
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, like
Dude, Jan
Nice.
loved that. You know,
Good.
because in Belgium, like, and we had him on the podcast after going up to your place, and he was just blown away that we could do that. He's like, oh, if I tried to do that in Belgium, like, he's like, you're not even allowed to have your bullets in the same room as a gun. They
Well,
can't
we
even
were,
be in adjoining rooms.
for better or worse.
We
Yeah,
were
yeah,
we were
exactly.
putting to rest that really, really crappy wireless keyboard that just caused us
Yeah.
That's
so
what
much
happened.
grief.
Yeah, we had an office
So
space
much.
party.
It
man,
would
and blew
just
that thing up.
it would just drop connection and stuff. So we tied it to a tree and shot it with a shotgun.
Yeah.
We were that mad with that.
I call up Brad because I was looking for stuff to do with Jan, and I had the day, and I was like, man, we should go up to Evergreen. We should go up to the studio. I call up Brad, and I go, hey, man, what are you doing? And he goes, drinking a beer, looking at a pile of ammo I just bought. And I was like, what are you guys doing today? He goes, we're going to shoot guns and drink beer and eat food. And I was like, my friend Jan's in from Belgium. Do you mind if we come over? And Brad's like, absolutely. And you could tell he was probably a couple whiskeys deep. Probably.
Well, that was a
was an Evergroove
kind of a
hang.
staff hang.
Yeah.
yeah, that was the staff hang.
We're-
That was the
we're-
staff party.
We're working on these a bit more where we just pick a day and we don't book anything. We don't do any, like, there's no work allowed.
We don't
Right.
give ourselves enough of
Yeah.
those. We find
Dude, that's great, man. The
We're due for
Evergroove
one.
office
are.
party.
it's true.
It's the Evergroove office party, right?
Yeah, with more whiskey and Mel Brooks movies.
That's great,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah, we
Yeah,
like
man.
it.
But I mean, that was like, that right there is something that you will not find at every studio. It's like you guys create this environment that maybe a larger place like the Caribou Ranch would be known for, like one of those famous retreat studio type of setups.
We do hear that a lot. Like, oh, you're like a new Caribou Ranch.
Yeah.
So we're careful about that because again, we're careful to not. I don't want to be
Cross-branding and-
No,
calling
Caribou
our
Ranch was a
naming
thing.
ourselves after kind of like a legendary studio, but we are a retreat like spot. Like
Yeah.
people can come and you can stay there. We've had artists camp there or camp
Yeah.
out on the trails.
But there
yeah.
are studios that are destination studios that are practically speaking out of the reach of the independent musician.
Oh,
You know
sure.
what I mean? And like when I had Blaine Cartwright on here, he was talking about how their worldwide budget has been cut by 80%. You know, they used to go record at places like Palomino Studios.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they can't do that anymore because like the industry in general is scaling down on
It is.
such a major level. But you guys have been able to sustain yourselves and thrive by having that destination studio feel, but keeping your pricing scaled down to something that an independent artist can afford. You know, how do you make it work so that you have such a high level of quality without having to charge people an arm and a leg?
It helps that the studio's on our property.
Right,
We didn't take out a loan.
right,
Overhead's fairly low.
right.
Like any business, not the bigger you get, the more years in business, you just kind of take on a bit more overhead. So we're always kind of checking that.
Right.
Like our fizzy water budget's way out of control right now.
Oh my
We go through
God.
so much seltzer water.
Seriously,
God.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need a seltzer water sponsor. Anyone?
You can just get one of those seltzer makers.
People keep saying it. It's not the same. Everybody who says
we'll
get a soda stream has never had a seltzer.
We'll
out of a
have to
soda
have
stream.
20 canisters of the.
It's
stuff on-
unbelievable.
it'll-
These people
we'll have to have a
just, they don't
license to
understand. Nobody
house all that. I
understands.
don't- Anyway,
Let's get back to the subject.
yeah.
Aaron.
So it does help that we didn't take out a business loan.
Right.
One of the reasons it took 3 years is we would like that severance pay that I told you about was spent almost immediately. And so I would work odd jobs and we would save up money and then like, all right, well now we can buy drywall. Like when we opened our doors, we had a little bit of debt.
Mm-hmm.
I had a buddy that was gonna kind of help in the studio, who decided not to, and in helping, he was gonna like bring all his gear up. So we suddenly had to kind of ramp up our gear. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, which is fine. That worked out fine.
Right.
But we really didn't have the overhead, and so if we're
We
if
pass the savings on
to you.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm trying to be cheap.
Right.
We want to be affordable.
Right. Well, you want to get the people up here who are going to benefit from it the most.
And
also
I also had a really good
fine.
really good point of advice from a guy who I was talking to who was looking at hiring Wesley Show. And he had a studio in New Mexico. I think it was in Santa Fe. And he had moved up to like Leadville and was going to do something up there just because he was just moving to the mountains and just wanted to keep doing that. And we were talking about studios and pricing, and I was picking his brain.
Was this the Step Bridge guy? Did he move
No.
out? Okay.
I don't think so. That doesn't sound right. He said, well, whatever you do, be careful. Don't make the mistake I made. You raise your rates. Next thing you know, you've priced yourself out of your own market.
Right.
And then the local musicians can't afford you. And that sticks with me. Every time we sit around, we're like, all right, we're getting busier. Do we raise our rates? What do we do? Or is there another way to generate revenue without having to impact the artist? And
So how does that go?
What is it? What do you mean?
So what do you are at that point, right? Like you have gotten to that point where like you guys aren't raising your rates and raising your rates and raising your rates, and you said what is the other way to generate revenue?
Right.
So what are you guys doing to keep your pricing fair?
Well, I think that first of all, we're working on keeping overhead low.
Right.
Just basic business. Like make
Right.
sure you're controlling your expenses so that you don't have to raise your rates. Like, all right, well, as we get busier and more money's coming in the door, right? We're having more invoices get paid. Well, let's put in a kegerator. We're not doing
Right.
things that businesses have a tendency to do, or let's go on lavish vacations or whatever. We keep it
Right.
pretty stripped down. And stuff goes like we've had a really solid year. We did this renovation and we put a lot of money back into equipment and converter upgrades and facilities upgrades for artists.
Okay,
for
let's get into
example.
let's get into the gear porn section of the
Sure.
show.
Sure.
Let's talk about what's new up at Evergreen.
Finally.
Finally. Gordo's like, that's the only reason I'm here.
Yeah.
I have a kidney stone, you fucking asshole. I just wanted to hear him talk about gear.
When you start passing that stone, buddy, you call me and I'll just start reading off gear to you. And you're like, yeah, okay.
That makes it better.
Oh, that sounds good.
That's better.
All right, so what did you go from? What did you go to? Just in terms of the major upgrades, like
Do you want it alphabetically?
You want to field this one?
Sure. I mean,
yeah. So from to. So you replaced the blank with a blank.
the most important thing and the first thing anybody walking into the room would notice is that we replaced our console, which was a Soundcraft 6000. Great console, served us since the opening of the studio, and did,
Which then you went and sold, right?
hundreds of albums mixed through it. Where is it now? Because it's still getting used on music, which we're really happy about.
I feel horrible. I forget the guy's name. If you're out there, I'm sorry. It was just really fast. But he does a lot of.
Like you put it up and it went fast because it's
Well,
a good
we had to
console.
dump it because I didn't. We were gonna
Yeah.
like list it, on Reverb and Endeavor Music, whatever.
But you didn't have room for it.
We got to the point where like I need this thing gone because I
Right.
have to tear everything out of the studio because when we renovated, everything came out.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything.
Literally every single last thing.
There wasn't a
empty
paper
floors.
clip left.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Completely bare.
Everything that was left was vacuumed up into a shop vac. I mean,
Wow.
empty.
Okay.
And
All right.
So yeah, we passed it on, but
So
that
you were
got
just trying to
replaced-
minimize the amount of shit that you had to move at
Well,
that
what was I
point.
going to do? I can't.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we were like,
Put it in a
Jenny and I
closet.
were trying to think like, well, we'll put it in our bedroom. We'll lean it
Yeah.
Yeah,
against
yeah.
the wall.
No.
Yeah.
This 6-foot behemoth leaning against the wall. Like, that's not going to happen. I just need it gone.
Hey, that would be pretty boss to just like when you put on like romantic music, you just like do
Slide
the
up a
mix.
fader.
Yeah, you're just like, oh no, let's get a little more bass.
I wanted him to use it as the aux controller for just the home theater system upstairs,
Dude, totally.
and nothing else.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, it's fader 12.
yeah.
Just bring it over so that when you
Mono?
have like when you have your in-laws over to the house, you can like blow their minds with like
Right.
Tim's got this new TV. I can't figure out the goddamn remote.
Wow.
But then you go over
Don't
to
even
Brad's
worry.
house and it's like, oh god, no, I don't even want to watch TV at his house.
Brad, I'm not getting any sound from the DVD player. Did you send it to bus 4?
Did you?
Well,
did you?
no.
Take to aux 4 channel 12 and turn it up to 7. There you go. Good job.
Okay.
There you go.
So
Come
what did
on,
you?
you idiot?
Idiot.
Idiot.
Right.
So what did you to replace the old board with?
So this is really exciting. It's really the centerpiece of everything, which is we dubbed it the Fortissimo 1000, which is
And we got
tell that
permission from
story
the
in a
designer
second.
to do so.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But so Sean Kramer
Of Gila and the Monsters. Look 'em
of
up.
Gila and the Monsters, also a shout out there. They're great. He has a shop called Fortissimo Fabrication, and he designed us and built us this insane, beautiful, custom, all steel and wood desk with the rough edge of the wood just built into the desk, and it's just gorgeous. And with these custom gearboxes built into the side of the desk so that we can have all of our gear right front and center,
Right.
without it actually, adding any acoustic masking or anything like that from our monitors. And then a ton of new preamps, and then just a ton of new gear all throughout that desk. Mostly by Warm Audio, who I have to say we're endorsed by, but we sought an endorsement from them because their gear sounds amazing.
They do great stuff.
yeah,
we use them
yeah.
for the MF Monday season 2.
Yeah, you really can't go wrong.
Your
with
vocal
anything
was
from them.
recorded through.
That's right. My vocal was recorded through Warm Audio mics.
Absolutely.
Yeah, big shout out to Warm Audio,
Big
man.
shout out.
Hey, Royce.
Yeah.
These
are not Warm Audio.
These are like
But they could be.
WA87s.
But they're very similar.
If you could imagine that these are WA87s, then this would sound even more beautiful.
87er.
and
Can I
creamy.
tell you my favorite part about the remodel is,
Sure. What's that?
is the Wi-Fi controlled lights.
Oh, man.
that's right.
So
I
that's
forgot
exciting.
about
We
that.
have
That's my favorite part.
22 color changing light bulbs, and like it's not a whole bunch of like LED strips from IKEA glued to the walls or anything like that. They're just nice soft color changing lights.
Like you could do a light show for a conversation.
Yeah.
Like when you're about to say something really serious and important, you could
red.
just like the red lights come on, or like, guys, I've got an idea.
That's right. We could.
That's a really good idea.
I think you
that's
do.
good idea.
I think you need to use the light to punctuate conversations all the time. And like, I don't know if your clients will find it as funny, but you guys will laugh your asses off.
And that's really all that matters, is that we're having a good time.
there's plenty that our clients don't find funny that we find.
So tell me a little bit about your vision for the studio going forward. Like, you look 5 years into the future. What are you guys aspiring for?
I know the
A
side
lot
of
more
Aaron. I
Ethan.
like this side of Aaron.
Yeah. You like this side of Aaron?
I do.
Okay.
Because it gets me thinking.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Start with just the big picture. Just like put it up on the screen and tell me about it.
We want to continue to serve the local market. And we want to continue to stay.
Mm-hmm.
God, that sounds horrible. We want to continue to be accessible to local artists. We don't want to keep raising our, like, we don't want to get, I mean, would I love to charge $100 an hour? We all would, but then we're going to stop working. And I get that. So while we want to stay accessible.
And you're going to stop working with the people who really want it and would appreciate it the most.
Awesome
I think.
underground music that we
Yeah.
all want to work with.
I mean, we want to stay connected to the local scene.
Yeah.
I mean, we sponsored the Three Kings stage at UMS for 3 years in a row.
Right.
I mean, we truly reinvest back into the
And I've noticed that
community.
And you do a lot of panels and you do a lot of education stuff. I want to get into it at some point before we go.
We're talking about that for 2020. So
Cool.
we're looking at bringing some of those back. Anyway.
And just to give people context, like, you guys do a series of educational videos for people who are wanting to prepare for the studio or people who are wanting to
we do talks. We
engineering
haven't
on their own.
gotten so much in the video side, but we've done like recording, mixing, mastering workshops. We did a panel discussion on the music business that was held at Walnut Room. At Mutiny Information Cafe, we did 2.
Yeah, I saw one of the panels you did it.
Yeah, you saw 2. We did 2 panels there. One was about preparing for the recording studio. One was on crowdfunding, and it was always our goal is to bring in people that are way even, like, I don't know anything about. I mean, the part I know about crowdfunding is it either works or it doesn't, and then the band is like, oh, our crowdfunding didn't come through, so we're gonna record at home.
You've got to really hype it up and eventize it.
But we brought in artists that have successfully completed Kickstarter projects to talk about, because I can't get up there and talk about that. So we do reach out and we try to bring in people that are experts in their field to talk about that stuff, instead of just us getting up there and be
This is how you record a snare drum, and it's like, that's a way to record a snare drum, isn't it? Yeah.
My guy.
Here's some ideas.
Yeah.
I remember one of the things I learned from, and this is before we started recording with you, and really before you and I became very acquainted, I saw one of the talks you did at Mutiny. And
that was on preparing for the recording studio.
Yeah, and something that you said during that, and I didn't catch the whole talk. I only walked in and caught this one thing, and it has stuck with me.
Classic.
Is you said one of the biggest mistakes that bands make in preparing for anything is if one person can't make practice, they call it off.
Yeah.
And it's like, there is always something that can be done during that time, no matter how few of you are available. And I have taken that and applied it to the way that we run our band in general.
Any work is good work.
Even if I'm the only one that can be here, I do a podcast, I get some work done, I do something every day, every week, every month, every year.
Write some lyrics, plan some posts, do some social stuff, or just think about where you guys are going to be in 5 years.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Go revisit that plan and see what that looks like.
Right, and that, catching that, along with a lot of other things that I kind of was learning around that time, that really stuck with me as far as something you can very practically apply to.
So easy.
To making those incremental gains over time.
Yeah.
Producing consistently.
It's because it's real easy to be like, oh, bass player can't make it. Oh, we'll just get it next week. No.
Yeah.
Get in the room and get it done.
Yeah.
Oh, but he does the one thing and we can't do the song without him.
Yeah.
Then you don't know the song.
Then do something
and
else.
learning how to play together when your bass player is fucking up or not there is one of the most important things.
Or if the bass player and the drummer are the only ones who can make it.
Yeah.
Like, those two can work together, that will go such a long way.
Well, I get like sometimes I'll get bands and like, oh, but I can't, and I understand why, but I can't play the song without the vocal cues.
It's like, well that's a problem.
I get it.
What happens if your singer has an aneurysm or is assassinated on stage?
Then you're probably going to stop playing the song, huh, Aaron?
No, the show must go on. You always finish the song.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's
like
when you bring on the understudy.
Exactly.
There you go. But point being, like
I come from a theater background.
go.
You know what I
Play
mean?
it through. Just play it
like
through.
I get that, but you don't know your song.
Yeah.
Right.
You just don't. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. You know your song based on cues. That's great. Oh, I know that line.
You
We're
know
going to the
the
chorus.
vocals.
Oh, I know that line. We're going to the bridge.
Yeah.
But then you don't really know your song.
It's like when have you seen the Tom Petty documentary? It was it's like
God,
a
it's like 3 hours.
It's so good though.
It's
But
really good.
there's that part where he's like, when you're writing a song, you got to sit there and work on that song until someone in the other room is like, stop playing that song. Like he's like, you have to work on it until it gets annoying,
Yeah.
dude. Like you have and I want to talk a little bit about that actually coming up too, because I think I've got my writing process, or I'm experimenting with the writing process that I think I want to tell you about it. But at first I want to hear more about your vision for the future, like what you guys are moving towards right now, because I know that's something we've talked about it a lot. Is something that
I'm going to
that
be
you're
talking
wanting-
to you about that more.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about it more, but give me kind of the big picture here.
Had the opportunity to work with some artists overseas,
Mm-hmm.
do some mastering for bands out of London and Italy, and some stuff on the East Coast. And I would like to, instead of, what? Oh
Austria.
yeah, in Austria too. Wow, we're supposed to do that record next year. We'll talk about that. I don't necessarily want to increase our prices. I want to extend our reach.
Yeah.
Because the one thing that that Ethan and I have both worked towards is we've learned how to work remotely. So
Everything's going remote. It's
well,
fucking crazy, man.
we have you're familiar with West Tones.
Yeah.
We got some West Tone in-ears.
Yeah.
And I've mixed and mastered some records on them. I've learned those. So I've learned that I can work from the road, or I can work in the house,
Which is crazy.
while he's recording in the studio, or vice versa, and kind of take out the.
Right.
What we've learned is a couple things. The bottleneck was one engineer, one room. Now we have two engineers, one room. So now the room's the bottleneck, but we've removed that slightly. But if I can extend my reach as a mixing and mastering engineer to outside of Denver, or just take on more mastering from Denver artists,
Right.
hint, hint.
Right. Right.
He can be in the room.
Evergroove.com.
He
Check
can
it
be
out.
right. He could be in the room working
Right.
and recording or editing or doing guitar overdubs or doing some vocals or some backings or whatever. Because Ethan has a great ear. And so what
That's
we
very
do
cool.
then, we're increasing the billing, right? We're expanding the billing without changing anybody's rate.
We're doubling
right.
throughput without charging anybody a single dollar.
And then it's just a matter of workflow.
It's just workflow.
It's just a matter of sitting down and scheduling out your
and one of us
workflow.
always has something to mix, or in his case, master, when the other one is recording. I mean,
Right.
there's always something they could be doing.
Right.
getting
So
done.
I'd like to figure out how to explore
And your
that.
calendar is jam packed all the time.
It's pretty full. Weekends obviously go fast because people,
Weekends go quick.
work during the week and need weekends.
That's
yeah.
another, and that's something that I think people need to know is like one of the reasons it has taken us so long to get this stuff together is because you guys do so fucking much. Like even just outside of Evergroove, you're doing front of house for Itch.io.
I do.
And then you've got that mixed in with whatever other front of house gigs that you pick up here and there. Or are you really
Itch.io's primarily.
other
I do front of house for
that?
a cover band called the Originators.
Right.
Just super cool group of people. A lot of fun. Band leaders super fun. They just pick up a couple. It's like 6
Right.
gigs a year that I'll do. But for live, as far as like original bands, Itch.io's the focus.
Right. And you
I'm not-
you go to rehearsals too, like you.
I haven't been to as many as I'd like to, but I do
Right.
try to get to rehearsals. It's important to stay connected to the group and understand what's going on.
And that's a big thing to take on. Like how many channels are you running at a time for Itch.io?
Yeah, we can talk about that. I'm now up to 32.
32 channels.
Yep.
Yeah, and really that's and that's
Faders up as soon as
That's
the show
incredible.
and it could be somewhere between 34 and 36. We combine some sources
Yeah.
at the board to save a channel because they don't necessarily have to be.
Yeah.
We have 2 mics on a thing to capture the whole thing, but I don't necessarily have to have that at 2 faders at the board.
Right.
Yeah.
That's insane. And so then that's all side gig stuff. That's all like kind of just like your side hustle. But then at Evergroove, you constantly have mixing on the calendar. You constantly have bands going in and like you pretty much are booked almost every weekend with. You only take one admin day, right? And that's I've got you in here on my podcast on your only day off every week.
I'm supposed to take an admin day.
Yeah.
It's been kind of a few months since we've actually really done that.
The renovation has been fantastic. We scheduled we shut down for 10 days, and we had like a 2 or 3 day cushion in there, I think, and it still took 15.
Wow.
And with where our schedule was at the time, 5 days not working on stuff has.
So now you've got all that backlog.
I've got a little bit of a backlog. That's not to say that we're too busy to take on work because Ethan's available.
Right.
Right. So we can still take on the work. We're not overbooked or anything like that. But I really have to give a huge shout out to anybody that's working with me right now is being so patient. And I might just buy a huge group dinner when we punch through this or have a cookout at the house because it's everybody's being so freaking cool right now.
Dude, to me, it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I feel like everything that we have, like, it's the first time in my recording experience in life where the project doesn't seem finite. It's like we have an ongoing project up at Evergroove. You know, this is the studio that we work with to produce our highest quality content. When we go in and we do the MF Monday episodes or we go in and we're working on album stuff, it's like this is the space that is, this organic process, this organism is thriving in.
Right.
You know, this is the wildlife preserve for, you know, our ongoing living project.
I like that.
That's nice.
Like
yeah.
it is like an enclosure. You know, it's this place where it's this habitat where our ongoing project lives, and I trust it to live there.
Cool.
And
Thank
then it's like, man, it's probably we're getting close to some kind of deadline. It's probably time to get up there and start working on these things, which is what I wanted to talk to you about. Some of the demoing stuff that we're doing right now.
I do want to.
How far are we in, Gordo?
I heard 1 point.
About an hour and a half.
About an hour and a half. So it's probably a good time to do the sponsors.
Ooh, good.
If you guys want to take a break while I do the sponsors, you're more than welcome. Take a leak, get some more to drink, load another bowl, and I'll do the
Not for
sponsors.
me.
You good? You are. I mean, I'm.
No, the bowl.
Yeah, the bowl.
I'm to Testament. After we're done here, I'm going back and working.
Dude, and that was another thing too. Is Brad is not sitting there smoking bongs while we're working on a project. Like,
Nope.
I have gotten high with Brad 1, maybe 2 times.
Hi, Mom.
1, maybe 2 times.
It's fine. Yeah, it's pretty rare.
I keep Gordo on the show just for his laugh, by the way.
I like Gordo's
It's
Yeah,
such
Gordo's
a good
awesome.
laugh.
Solid.
his voice. It's so radio.
Yeah.
It's pretty. I like to work sober.
Like we had finished something for the day with Tony, and we went up and you had your volcano set up in there, or not even volcano, just like
that was the
first vaporizer ever made.
Oh, the Buddha.
No, we had the Buddha. Yeah.
Yeah, I have that right now.
Yeah, and we just we
Yeah.
went up.
It's
We
great.
went up. We got
Use
a
it every night.
little high. We got professionally high, and we played The Last of Us. Right? Is that what it was
Y'all
called?
did, yeah.
Which is a fucking badass game.
Scary, man.
Yeah, that's
that
cool.
game actually freaks me out.
Dude, that game
Yeah.
is super fun, and it was perfect for because we were in the early stages of fleshing out the Front Lines of Good Times story, and we were making a post-apocalyptic
That's right.
concept album.
You
and
woke
you
up
were
the
like,
next day. You're like, I got ideas from that game.
Yeah. Like things that I want to add into it and
Yeah.
stir into it.
Nice.
It was really a lot of fun to do. So yeah.
Anyway, sponsors.
Let's give a quick shout out to some of our sponsors. First and foremost, our most venerable, nay, venereal sponsor, Matula Plumbing. Matula! Shit rolls downhill. Don't be at the bottom. Your number 2 is our number 1 priority. Your shit is our bread and butter. Angie's List Super Service Award winner back in 2011. 1-1 is the only one that matters. He'll wear the booties for ya. If you're anywhere near Des Plaines, Illinois, and you want your shit pumped by the master of poopers himself, look for Jerry motherfucking Matula. Also the drummer for the premier ZZ Top tribute band, Eliminator.
Really?
Not a lot of people know
What?
that.
No.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
You didn't know Jerry Matula was in
We're on
Eliminator?
episode fucking 80, and this is when I find out that he's the drummer for Eliminator.
You didn't know that?
Fuck you,
Dude.
man.
Oh.
Yeah, Jerry Matula is the drummer of Eliminator. Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
So, for those who are new to the show,
Mm-hmm.
our sponsor, Jerry Matula, is the drummer for Tony's father-in-law's premier
Right.
ZZ Top tribute band, Eliminator.
Premier.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, Bobby Zielinski and
Award-winning.
and they call the
That's
Ron.
one.
They call him Rhonda because he's Ron, the bass player. And they're from Chicago, so
That's
it's
awesome.
everything. It's Ron, the bass player. Gonna go see the Bears, the Bulls, the Cubs.
God.
I love it.
Want a shot of my lord?
That is the worst stuff ever made. If you drink
It's
Malort,
fucking awful. I saw our buddies down half a bottle of that shit.
yeah, just to be cool, too.
Unreal.
Just to be cool. When I first met the Blind Staggers, they weren't drinking Malort. They're drinking Malort because it's Chicago-y.
So they're doing it for show, is what you're telling me.
Exactly.
So just when we're there on tour, they're
Posers.
They're doing
drinking
it to
Malort. Okay,
reinforce their image of their Chicago image. That's all it is. I'm blowing the lid off this thing. Right
I've never understood the whole like famous because it's terrible, but it's from here thing. It's still terrible.
Right?
Like Casa
Why
Bonita.
do you want it? Yeah,
It's
like
like,
Casa
"Dude,
Bonita.
don't
Why do you
tear
want-
down Casa Bonita. You
It's
mean that
still
stinky piss
awful.
stain?
Don't tear it down.
Just
Burn
go
it
do
down.
yourself a favor. Go to Simon's and get yourself some glug. That's all you have to do.
Glug?
That stuff is so good. They
Glug?
make
What
it.
the
I
hell
think
is
they probably make it in a
glug?
bathtub. I don't know.
What is
But it's
glug?
really
What's
good. Oh, dude,
glug?
it's the best alcoholic beverage
Is it
that
from
Chicago
Kansas?
has to offer.
Oh, from
No, it's
Chicago.
in Chicago. Go to Simon's Tavern. It's one of the oldest taverns in town.
Not
in
until you tell me
Andersonville.
what it is.
What is glug?
What is it?
Oh, it's so many things. It's
That's
so many
terrible.
things.
What
That's
is it?
terrible.
Actually, I couldn't even tell you what all is in it. I can't, but I'll tell you that
I
two.
think I can guess
two of
by
them,
its name.
They,
Glug.
the limit is 2. You can't have more than 2.
This sounds like what they do at Double Down in Vegas. The ass
oh,
juice.
like yeah, the
I
match
fell
shots.
off.
Fuck is
I
ass
fell off my
juice?
bar stool.
Why are you guys drinking this stuff? You know what's good?
I'd never drink
Whiskey in a glass with maybe a drop of water.
I wouldn't drink it. I couldn't. Drink it.
Evergroove Studio, the official recording studio of motherfucking Ruckus.
Now
and a
is
bunch
when-
of other great bands.
This is when we can clear up
Oh.
this Black Mountain thing.
we can clear this
Oh,
up.
my
So,
God.
are you guys
Oh.
in the Black Mountain or Shadow Mountain
They asked me
region
this when I was
of,
producing it.
of Evergreen?
Well, it's on Black Mountain Drive.
So, well, right, but I didn't know if Black Mountain Drive ran right through the middle. Like, if you look at your area on a map,
Black Mountain.
like it's like Black Mountain and Shadow Mountain occupy the same area.
Right.
So it's like one is on one side of the highway, one is on the other.
Really?
So yeah.
Uh,
So are
no.
you guys on Black Mountain or are you on Shadow Mountain?
My guesses are on Black Mountain because
Okay. We have an
that's
answer.
what I
there's
thought, too.
there's a Shadow Mountain Drive so Black Mountain changes names to Shadow Mountain 3 miles down the road.
Oh, see.
We're gonna look this up right now.
Oh, you're gonna look it up.
I
looking it
swear
up.
to
Oh,
God, I'm
thank
gonna
you.
look it up.
All right.
No,
so,
I'm not.
So
So
you
I think
guys.
the big
Google
question
Maps
is when's
crashed.
Black
Shout out
Mountain
to
the
Google
band
Maps.
going to record on Black Mountain Drive
Okay.
in Evergreen?
So we finally have an answer.
That's my
Evergroove
guess.
Studio, nestled
Aaron-
deep inside
We
Black Mountain.
we almost called it Black Mountain Studio.
That wouldn't be bad.
I mean, you guys would have had a lot of business with just like
Black
doom
metal
and,
bands,
and
yeah.
stoner metal
That's
and
okay.
like it would have been nothing but metal bands
We
coming up
love
there.
metal
okay.
bands.
too.
Mountain Studio.
Are you kidding? That'd be so
This
rad, too.
album was recorded at Black Mountain Studios in
Good, that's
Ever.
high.
Yeah,
Wow.
in Ever Black, Colorado.
Ever Black. But the name actually came from Jenny.
Okay, dude. By the way, your sponsor shout out has just changed forever. It's gonna be
It
it's gonna be
certainly
like
has, yeah.
Evergroove Studio atop Black Mountain.
I love it.
I love that.
Oh, solar
Yes.
powered.
Oh yeah.
Solar now is the whole studio solar powered? That's amazing.
Let me back that up. We have
Speaking of
solar
low overhead, right?
To be fair, we're not 100% solar power any longer. So we gotta adjust that. So that's what we're working
You
towards.
lying son of a bitch.
I've always been open with that.
Okay, but what is the percentage of your solar?
It's probably 70% by now.
That's amazing.
yeah.
That's got to be part of how you're able to. And they pass the savings on to you.
And Aaron,
Except Gordo, we bill him double.
Yeah.
on a personal note, can I just
I don't
say,
take it personally.
I appreciate you saying Evergroove Studio singular.
I got
are
corrected.
Evergroove Studio singular.
I got corrected.
It got. Did you? It
Yeah,
gets.
yeah.
It happens a lot, and it's
Politely,
okay.
but
But
No.
It's
I've
nice when it happens.
I said
Correct.
Evergroove Studios for the whole beginning of it, and Brad actually went, actually, it's Evergroove Studio, singular.
Sir,
And I went, oh, okay.
there's only one.
That was and by the way, that was a spot on Brad Smalling impression. I just got to say. Like, I got the mannerisms down,
Do
and
it.
the head
Do it again.
tilt, and then
Wait, do
he
it
was
again.
just
The head tilt was
like,
good.
Let me
yeah,
say it
just
again.
like, yeah, actually, it's Evergroove Studio, singular. So
It's like looking in the mirror.
these are the guys
Gotta
we
have a
talk
beard.
about every week. Seriously, go. Give me some more as far as like what goes in the elevator pitch when you were like, what is some of the branding language that you guys use on your website or when you're telling people about the studio? Give me more for my pitch every week.
More for your pitch.
Yeah, because I do this every week. And I say the same stuff over and over again. So
Most people that move to Colorado or stay in Colorado for what? For the mountains, for the hiking, for the outdoors, for the skiing, for the whatever.
right,
So why the hell would you record in town?
right, absolutely.
Get out of town. Get it.
Yeah.
Get up to
Get out of
Evergroove.
town. Get up to Evergroove.
I think it's really nice when you're recording, you walk outside and you're not in a basement and you're not walking upstairs into the rest of a thing. You're just walk outside and you're on beautiful property and the sun is setting and there's a deer grazing.
It also separates you from distractions.
Absolutely.
You know, there's something about driving the 45 minutes to an hour out to Evergroove, and you're like, I am committing my day to spending time out here in nature in this creative space, and all my troubles, all my job stuff,
Yep.
city life stuff
You can
will
detach.
be waiting for me when I get back down there.
Yeah.
That's right.
But for now, I'm retreating up here to go work on something.
You pointed out the 45 minutes, and I think that's really interesting if we're talking about kind of marketing speak. Like the one thing that is changing is Denver is more and more concentrated, right? More and more people.
Right.
Traffic is really bad.
Yep.
You can spend 45 minutes driving from north to south Denver
Oh,
and be
yeah.
super frustrated. Or you can just get in your car and head out 6th or I-70 either way, or 285, get
Yep.
you to us. There's more than one way to get to us.
Right.
And within 20 minutes, you're out of the city.
Yep.
And you just leave everything behind. And in fact, Evergreen is only 25 minutes from downtown.
Yeah,
So
I
So
think it's totally
the
worth
rest
it.
of the drive at that point is through Evergreen, which is a cool little
It's
town.
beautiful. It's a winding road. It's
Yeah.
fun to drive if you're a fan of driving like irresponsibly like I am. Then it's a real blast to drive. So
Don't do that.
that's
And if you live in Denver,
The neighbors are
it
mad.
does feel like
They're
a
not listening.
vacation. You know,
It
it
is.
feels like you're going on
Yeah,
vacation.
Especially if you stay.
Yeah.
You stay with us.
Were you there when I was doing my vocal warm ups to the mountains?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That
I
was
love that.
so fucking fun, dude. Just
So-
like
So to that, I would tell you an anecdotal story. So this is the one thing that we can do at Evergroove that you can't necessarily do somewhere else. It doesn't make it good or bad. It's just different. So I was working with Heather, the singer for Ground Above Zero. They're this metal band out of Denver, and I needed to visualize singing to the mountains. We were working on vocal projection. And things
Right,
like that.
right.
So I propped open the front door. I went inside, and Jenny's like, "What are you doing?" And I got her big dance mirror. I said, "Can I borrow this?" Propped open the door and positioned it at the door and positioned Heather so she could see the mountains
there you
at
go.
that time because she was anyway. So I said,
That's
I
really
want
cool.
you to sing to those mountains is what I want you to do.
That's really cool.
And she did. It was a great vocal performance.
And what's
So-
cool is that later on the production on that album, we actually ended up recording a group vocal thing with some drums outside. behind
Outside,
the
I remember
studio.
seeing
Yeah.
pictures of that. That
Yeah,
was
their-
really cool.
Their new album is going to be super cool. It's got a Viking vibe. Like
Yeah.
that's the theme.
Cool.
And we did this big orchestrated chant with like
The Valhalla chant, you know.
That's
voices
so
and, like,
goddamn
it's-
cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be really really rad
man,
when
I
it
wanted
comes
to
out.
do something like that for a song that we're working on. We'll have to do
We just
something similar
There's
but different.
still
ran a bunch of
Yeah,
mics
there you go.
outside.
That's really cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, Evergroove Studio. Go see these guys about your next project. Evergroove.com.
Yep.
Right?
It's that
Cool.
simple.
TheNugNation.com.
Yeah.
This podcast is recorded here at Nug Nation Studios. I think it is plural. I got to check that with Mike. TheNugNation.com. See the Nugs in their wacky adventures through the town of Nugville.
I love the show.
It is a funny. You've watched the show?
Seen it?
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's
Have you
cool
seen the
seeing
Billy
sets.
Ray Cyrus
Have you seen the
video?
Billy Ray Cyrus video?
We
It's
heard
so
the Billy
good.
Ray Cyrus video too.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. It made all the audio files just crawl in their skin. They're just like, why? Why, dude?
It's just for us. It's just a thing where we're watching and we're enjoying it, and at that moment, our eyebrows raise up, and we just keep on enjoying it.
I think our longest streak of not talking about that shit has been like 3 episodes,
I'm sorry to
maybe.
bring it up.
Well, no, we have talked about it.
We should talk about it. You
Dude.
guys should be proud. It's really cool. work.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
It is amazing. And then we got a tons of stuff we're working on now. I got to take these guys on a tour.
This
of the
facility
studio.
is amazing.
It's really cool, man.
Yeah.
We got some
behind the scenes is so great.
Super cool to see the sets here.
We've already got Mikey, the creator, scheduled for episode 100, and that's about 20 weeks from now. And I'm very excited to see what happens here just in the next 20 weeks.
Oh yeah.
So those of you who are following the podcast, like keep your eyes open on the Nug Nation. Some really cool stuff is going to start happening in the next, 5 to 6 months or so. It's gonna be really cool. I'm excited to see the way it goes. But for now, you can check out everything that we've done so far at thenugnation.com. We actually did a Nug Nation Evergroove collab.
Yes.
In
right.
2016.
That's how
right?
I learned about Nug Nation.
Yeah, we came in and we did our Kid Rock parody,
It's fun.
the Trump Boogie.
Is that still out there?
Oh, it's still out there. Dude, it ended up on like Funny or Die.
That's right.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't go viral or anything, but it did pretty well. I got Ross Hostage wrote about it on For the Love of
Yeah.
Punk, so it got a little bit of love.
I
mean,
had a great time with that.
And it was a fun thing to do, and it was silly, and we were cracking up the entire time.
We
It was
tracked that in a day.
Yeah, it was in an evening. It was the first thing. It was
so
the first
fast.
thing we ever did with you.
Well,
And
we
we
did the Little Bear thing.
Right. It was the first thing we ever did in the
Oh, I see what
actual
you're-
studio. You know what I mean? But we did the Little Bear thing too. By the way, if you go on our website, mfruckus.com, and you go down to some of the in the music section, you can find the entire recording of the Evergroove stuff we did at the Little Bear, and you can find video from that on our YouTube channel. So check that out. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. We did that. We did that parody about Trump that Jerry helped me write, and it was all about him. Like, I just looked up a bunch of ridiculous things about him at the time.
Oh, and the
and,
video is fantastic.
dude, and we had
And I had forgotten that Trump was in like a Pizza Hut commercial.
oh,
So when we were like, "What's the pizza?" Oh yeah.
Yeah. I just like looked up as many references and jokes as I could. I was like, man,
Nailed it.
this would rhyme really well. All right, let's find some stuff that'll make this rhyme work. You know what I mean? But we had no idea he was gonna get elected.
What a pizza shit, am I right?
Hey, oh,
That's good.
Anyway, let's see. So thenugnation.com. Oh, Flipside Music,
Hey,
South
they're
Tacoma
great.
Street here in Denver, Colorado.
They have every pedal.
Dude, all the stuff you
Every
want. None of the
pedal.
stuff you don't. Quality over
Yeah.
quantity.
Yeah.
No, they have I thought they had one of the biggest collections of pedals in the entire state.
That's what I
is
thought.
what
Is
I
that
remember.
true?
That's what I remember hearing about them.
Do they
Certainly-
rent
It certainly
their pedals?
seems like it.
When
Yeah.
every Denver musician I know wants a pedal, they go to Flipside Music.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, put your foot down and demand those tones that you're
Good job.
seeking.
You deserve
Yeah.
it.
Dude, no, they have a really cool selection of guitars. You know, and it's only they get their hands on good shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Ike has an eye for good shit. We got him coming on the show here soon. and-
Nice.
They have cool amps too.
Yeah,
they have
no.
those. I forget what they're Panamas. They're nice. I like them. I like how they sound.
Are they designed for playing Panama?
Didn't
I
know if
think
that was
kind
gonna
of,
happen.
yeah.
Panama, Flipside Music. Oh
Now
yeah.
you're gonna get tagged by YouTube.
Oh hey,
You're gonna
he's
get
also
demonetized.
the Archmaester of the Sacred Order of the Baldmen, of which
The Baldsman.
the Balds.
The
Are you
Baldsman. How
remember
many
that?
fucking times? The
Have you heard about
Baldsman.
this?
The
Not only am I a member,
Baldsman.
Get it
I'm
right.
the president.
Nice.
Singular
That's not
Nice.
or plural, of which Gordo is a charter member, and
If not a founding member.
There you go.
Yeah. He knows the secret handshake and everything.
Gordo's hair moved down his face to get closer to Granny Tweed's music.
Well,
Yeah.
I pulled it this way out of my head. Like I pulled it so it's no
Because I
longer
was
up
sitting there
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
so much. Let's see. Who else? Oh, Mutiny Information Cafe.
Yay!
This is a Mutiny transmission. Mutiny Information Cafe on 2 South Broadway.
Love those guys.
Right in the heart of Denver. It is the cultural epicenter of Denver. It's where everything cool happens.
Yep.
Books, records, comic books, pinball machines, live
Fighting
events, podcasts, cereal. Nobody has a larger selection of Torini syrups.
Nobody.
Oh, I believe that.
Yeah, it's everything, man. Great
Vinyl, new, used.
Fighting the man.
tabletop games.
Anarcho-punk.
Oh,
bought-
yeah. Fighting the man,
Fighting
too.
the man.
I bought a new copy of Thieves of Thunder at Mutiny Information
Did
Cafe.
you really?
I did.
Wow.
I did.
CD or
I mean,
vinyl?
a few years ago.
CD or vinyl?
It was vinyl.
Ooh.
Thank
Wow.
you very much.
I think Mutiny
band
might
sucks.
be the only place in town that still has our vinyl because
Yeah.
this is a true story. We were getting ready to go on tour and we were out of records. And so one day before we left on tour, I went to every record store in town that was carrying our stuff. And because none of our records sell locally, I went and pulled our entire stock out of stores, and the only place that kept them
Is
was
this before
Mutiny.
you discovered the hidden cache at Tony Lee's house?
Oh God! The day
Sorry,
Tony,
what?
I love that story.
the day Tony moved back to Chicago,
Yeah.
we found a box just full of records, just like.
Oh, man.
And he's like,
Oh, I thought you meant
yeah,
literal
shit, I
cash.
forgot I had those. No, like just like a box of like,
a crate
Nice.
of vinyls.
yeah, probably it was like a quarter of our stock, I would say,
Oh, my God.
originally. And I
It's
was
just under
like,
his bed.
it's great, we've got these to sell, but
Thunder, his bed.
yeah, Thunder.
Restock all the
Thunder,
stores,
a
fellas.
bunch of jackets and
Rona Thunder.
boxes of crap. Anyway, Mutiny Information Cafe. Check them out and tell Matt and Jim the boys sent you.
Yeah.
RocketSpace Rehearsal Studios on 27th and Larimer here
Okay.
in Denver, right by the Larimer Lounge. So before you go to practice, stop in and have a drink with Mikey Mulligan, our dude. And then go over, like, show up right on time. You could even show up a little late for practice if you're most musicians. And
Just show up.
yeah, just show up. And there's no setup time because you just walk in, you plug in, you play, you get on with your life. RocketSpace, you ain't got to carry shit. I
right.
really hope they make a T-shirt out
They
of that.
really fucking
should.
should.
I
dude. That's a
just
good-
gave
good
them that
slogan for
tagline,
this,
and I
right?
have not seen it used on anything but this podcast.
Man.
I gave it to you,
Let me tell you
Kate.
something. Never mind. It's not even worth it. Keep going.
Good commentary.
Yeah.
All right. What
I'm
what
here
what
all
else? Who am I forgetting? I know who the last one is, but do I have everyone?
Yeah, I think you're there.
Okay, so last but most, I want to give a shout out to all the people who back us on Patreon at patreon.com/MF Ruckus.
Woo!
You guys, I keep thinking we're going to lose all you guys at the same time, and you guys stick with us month after month, and like really are the only thing that makes it possible for us to keep doing what we do. The contribution of our patrons goes to pay Jake, who illustrates the front lines of Good Times.
Hey, Jake.
They go to pay Macy, who animates the motion comic.
Those are
They
so
go to pay, dude. The
Those
new
are
one
so
turned out
good.
so good, right?
My
They're not
favorite
s-
character is, I forget his name.
Evil?
guy.
Yeah.
Evil.
Oh, yeah.
Evil's great,
Oh,
dude.
Evil.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
It's just business, man.
Dude, you know who does the voice of Evil?
Who?
Joey Klontz, our like #1 fan,
No
dude,
kidding.
that we brought up to
Okay.
the
It's
studio.
great.
Dude,
So
Joey.
great.
Joey's like, hey man, is Evil gonna show up in another chapter? And I was like, no, but I'm gonna use your voice in some way.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Like Evil will show up later on in the story. I don't want to give anything away, but it's gonna be a while before he shows up again. But yeah, like the money goes to pay Brad and Ethan Klein to help with the MF Mondays and the new record stuff. It goes to pay for publicity and marketing and plane tickets for bringing Tony in. Like I just you talked earlier about like crowdfunding, and for us, Patreon has been something that I think got flack unfairly in the independent music world initially.
You were one
just
of the first. to
Patreon
do it.
as a platform, or
Yeah.
you as a band adopted?
No, there
okay.
was when Patreon first started emerging on the scene.
It was Allegiant.
The band
We talked about that a
Allegiant,
lot.
yeah, the band Allegiant was using them, and
MFCKRS as well.
the way that they presented their pitch was intended to be kind of tongue-in-cheek, I think.
It was.
And people responded to it badly.
Whoops.
Yeah.
And then what happened is the underground rock and roll media got a hold of it and used it as an opportunity to do a lot of
Although
I can't really think of the words to describe what that sort of campaign was, but that's really what it was. Is it was a lot of people in the music world.
They shat upon it.
They were throwing shade.
I mean,
they were just throwing shade on the whole idea, and it kind of became a cultural meme to like be like, if you can't do it the old-fashioned way of just playing gigs and selling merch, then you need to get off your ass and fucking work, and you're not going to have everything handed to you. And I think that soured the idea of crowdfunding in general with the independent music world.
Oh, sure.
But it's really shooting yourself in the foot if you're not participating in it. Yes. What we did is we were like, okay, then what we need to do is we need to create something that gives an extraordinary amount to the people who invest on an ongoing basis. So it's like we need to treat Patreon like content creators treat Patreon. You know?
I do have to stick up for Allegiant a little bit here because
I'll stick up for them all day.
I know, but because their Patreon is still going on and everything, that like I thought they did a really good job initially of like trying to explain we are doing this literally nonstop and making no money.
Right.
And there's nothing else that we can do other than this. And like you said, they took a lot of flack from the media, but their Patreon, I think, from the get-go was pretty predicated upon like trying to give back to people and, you know, find a way to keep going on a consistent basis.
Now, I would be curious to see what the results have been, because I'll bet that they do pretty well.
They do all right.
Despite the fact that they caught a lot of shade, I'm sure that got them a lot of exposure in the people who were like, hey, I don't see what the big deal is. I'll get on board with it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they took a lot of shit, but it ended up working in their favor in the long run.
2 more albums.
Yeah. I mean, dude, we have been able to, with what we get from Patreon, it is equivalent to playing a good gig or 2 a month.
That's great.
And
That's nice.
and in fact, our Patreon does better than, I mean, frankly, a lot of the gigs that we do.
Sure.
You know, and that's just, it's hard to get people out, but it's with having a guy who lives in another state, it's you know, we have kind of a high overhead to get out and play a gig. I have to turn stuff down all the time because it's like, we'd love to do it, but we have to fly a guy in.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to fly a guy in, and he's going to miss a weekend of work. We're going to have to book other shows to kind of supplement to cushion it. Like it costs a lot for us to even quote unquote leave the house.
Right.
You know what I mean? So what Patreon has allowed us to do is to keep creating and keep advancing just that little bit at a time in order to it keeps our band alive. You know, if it wasn't for the people who back us on Patreon, I don't think our band could have survived.
That,
you know, plain and simple.
That's so valuable.
Yeah. So I want to give a shout out to you guys. I give it every week, and I will always give it every week, and I will always give it on everything that we ever put out because I fucking love you guys. Thank you so much. If you want to help us on our mission to party the planet and keep creating cool shit, please go to patreon.com/MF Ruckus and really pledge at any level. We just give everything to everybody.
anything helps, right?
Yeah. I mean,
And you won't be sad you did. You guys put out like really cool stuff.
we put out a ton of stuff, man.
And it's
And
what's
I don't
cool
feel
about it
like
is
we
that
put
it's
out
unique.
enough. You know, like I want to get towards a point where we are able to produce high quality content on a like consistent daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, quarterly, you know, basis. I've got plans for stuff all the way up to a feature film that I am writing in my brain.
You guys
know,
are content contenders.
Dude, I owe a lot of that to I owe a lot of what we've been doing, and I told Mikey this when he was here, is I've learned so much just from being around the Nug Nation and seeing what it is like for a media channel to try and stay alive.
Sure.
And I think there's a lot of artists out there who think they're going to create the thing that breaks them.
Sure.
And what I've learned from working at a media channel is just the thing only gets you to the next thing.
Yep.
That's
Like,
a good point.
we have done some shit here. Like, you know, the younger me would have thought, oh, I sat down and did an interview with Redman. That's going to be the thing.
There it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that wasn't the thing.
It
But it
just-
led us to the next thing.
Right.
Oh, my God, I sat down and did an interview with Nappy Roots or Afro Man or whoever it
Yeah.
is. That's got to be the thing, right? It's like, no, we're still, 4 years later, and we're still, Mikey's got to work his ass off to keep the lights on. He's got to take client work to keep the lights on. It's like, oh, we did a video for Billy Ray Cyrus. That got written in
that's
Rolling
gotta be it.
Stone and Billboard. That's got to be the thing, right?
The thing.
Nope. Oh, but it did get us in Now This Weed. That's got to be the thing, right? Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people across the globe have seen that. That's got to be the thing, right? No.
Nope.
And seeing that go down
Mm-hmm.
has really informed the way that I manage projects with the band. It's like, we're not going to put out an album that is just going to send us straight to the top. Millions of albums come out every year. If you had to estimate how many albums come out a year,
Oh God. I try not
just
to
an
think
just
about
an
that
estimate
number.
as far as like you guys, like what you produce. Like
we do at
well,
least 100.
so,
I mean,
so you guys probably put
is that not accurate? I don't know. That
100
feels
albums
like-
for us?
Oh well, I'd say
No.
we work.
well, I'm
on
just
100
saying
albums.
based on
100
your
don't come out
experience
a
of
year.
output, like what do you think in like amount of musical content comes out of the world from into the world from studios,
Oh, it's got to be practically immeasurable.
right?
Because there's going to be stuff
Yeah.
coming out that we'll never even know about,
Right.
right? I mean, there's going to be
It's-
a small
There are
studio.
people that are
It's on the
actively trying to
order-
stop music from coming out in such a high quantity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
It's like
it's
a,
got to be on the
a
order
fire
of
hydrant
at
that's
least
like just blowing up.
100,000 more.
there's going to
Please
be
stop.
the smallest studio in South Africa, like
Right. Producing
something coming out
stuff.
there, something super cool. that's-
Everybody has a
figures.
recording
Like-
studio on their phone now.
Like
yeah.
I think it's immeasurable.
GarageBand comes with iPhone.
And I mean, I've got, yeah. I've
Is
got.
that having a studio though? I don't know.
Well, it's not the. I mean, obvious.
but I totally get it.
Ethan, obviously, it's not the same.
No,
as
let's take it-
going
let's
to
take
a
it down
real
that road.
studio.
No.
My first studio.
My first.
My
Hey man,
first
It's
studio.
like play school.
my first iStudio.
what you're able to do with GarageBand on your phone is something that people would have killed for in
Oh, absolutely.
20,
It's
30,
crazy.
40,
And
10
how-
years ago.
Listen, back in my day, we would have loved to have that thing.
You guys are using that for your demos, right?
So, this is what I wanted to tell you. We have been spending the last few months, and people who've been following the podcast have heard us talk about it. We've been spending the last few months before Tony moved and while Tony's been gone, trying to figure out the most optimal way to have ongoing projects that we all can work on independently because we don't get together every week anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? And what we finally gotten to out of a lot of trial and error is we went, the one thing we know that everybody can get on is GarageBand iOS. Like, all of us have iPhones but Tony. Tony has an iPad at home. You can get one of those Focusrite interfaces that works with an iPad or an iPhone.
Right.
We bought one of those. I gave it to Ty just to take home. It's got phantom power. It plugs right into GarageBand. He can set up his drums in his basement, set up one mic in the room. He went and got a good set of headphones, and we can share projects over a cloud, and everybody can add their parts
See, that's a
individually.
studio. That's
right.
great.
Yeah.
Right. So now we've gotten to that. So we've started to get that dialed in. There's some things about it that are a little confusing and cumbersome that we're figuring out. But the important part is we're able to share ideas around. We've got, I think I showed you the demo file once when we were up there. So we've got something like between 20, like we've got probably 40 something or more early rough demos that then we distilled down to about 20 of what I have said are the most complete demos, the ones we're going to be most able to make something out of, the most highly probable ones. So we've got about 20 to 22, 23 songs that we are now converting into projects where Tony is taking them and creating project files. We're up to probably about 7 project files.
Okay.
And then what I've started doing in the last week, and a lot of this has come from the excitement of having the single drop and having Rodeo Star really pushing it, finding out that Napalm, I totally forgot that I remember Rodeo Star telling me at one point, Thorsten from Rodeo Star, I remember him telling me, but it somehow slipped my mind, that they had entered into a partnership with Napalm Records, which is this larger label.
Really?
And so they have, Rodeo Star has Napalm Records marketing machine behind it.
Nice.
So
That's
the day it came out, I had Thorsten introducing me to their social media marketing person who was going to be pushing the release. And so I've been watching the release in real time, live, how it's been happening. You also have Gordo, have you seen the real-time live release function on Spotify for artists?
I haven't seen this.
I haven't seen it yet. You alerted me to that, but I haven't seen
Yeah,
it yet.
you can see if people are listening to your song at that moment.
Whoa.
Like you look at it and it's like 2 people are listening right now, 3 people are listening right now, and it gives you the total number of streams.
Oh,
and
that's
stuff.
the number that always says 0 for Granny Tweed.
I was gonna say, imagine being Billie Eilish and looking at that number.
Oh,
seeing hundreds of
I
thousands
don't
of
know if
people
that's true,
listening
Gordo.
to
I think you guys
music
are
right then.
building a underground cult following. People who love Granny Tweed really love Granny Tweed.
They're great songs.
And that
They are
you're-
really good songs.
Those 2 people, we really appreciate them.
And Apeshit Mood Ring
And-
is
and
amazing,
one of them-
by the way.
It's a great record, right?
It is such a good record.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
Such a
that.
good record.
And
I think it needs to be online so more people can hear it.
Okay, yeah, because right now I'm looking at the numbers. Yes, there's 0 people listening right now.
quick, everyone listening.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can make it happen. Let's see if we can make those numbers jump up. No, so what I've been doing is earlier this year, or not even earlier this year, a few months ago, while I was trying to learn stuff for the Oingo Boingo tribute I'm in, one of my bandmates, Ryan Fiegel, our guitar player, he introduced me to Capo and the Amazing Slowdowner, which are 2 apps that you can put audio files into. Capo,
it sounded like a band.
Absolutely. That's a great name for a band.
Capo will Capo you can do a bunch of things with, but the main thing I use it for is you can load whatever the track is into it, and it'll detect the key and the chord changes and things like that. So I use that. Set the song key in the project, and then I can open up a keyboard and set it to whatever scale I want to, whether it's a minor scale or a major scale or a Dorian scale or a klezmer scale or a Southeast Asian scale or a Japanese scale, and I can go into that key and play with melodies.
Oh, that's great.
Right, and so I can work on ideas like that and work on melody ideas and things like that in GarageBand. But then with the Amazing Slowdowner, I can just load all the tracks, the instrumentals in, and loop them, and I just listen to these demos while I drive. To work, from work, to work, from work. And then with the 15, 20 minutes that I'm parked and waiting to go into work, I plug in, put on a pair of headphones, and I lay down some kind of reference track in my car.
Cool.
Wow.
Which is like the perfect
That's great.
vocal isolate. I can't do that shit at home.
No.
I woke my kid up the other day having a conversation with Tony on Skype. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's just, I have a loud voice. It fucking carries.
It's just amazing how many tools there are out there to
I
be
know.
creative if you want to be creative.
I know.
Or they can help you. I mean, you got a kid and you got life. You're busy.
Right.
So you found a way. It's brilliant that you found a way to take this time that you're in the car anyway,
Right.
like to put it to work for you and for MF Ruckus
I
continue
found-
to move you guys forward.
I have found
Mm-hmm.
it has improved my overall mood as well.
Well, sure.
Because
you're creative going into work.
I love podcasts. But a lot of the podcasts that I listen to can be on dismal subject matter and can be
Sure.
very serious.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I'm interested in some very serious topics that can ruin your day if you don't have the bandwidth or capacity for it. You know what I mean? But what I've started doing is, because I'm super excited about making new stuff, I've been listening to just these demos over and over again, which are just my bandmates playing into GarageBand, you know.
So cool.
And just listening to that over and over again and generating ideas. And I find that by the time I get to work, or by the time I get home, I feel a lot happier because I'm engaged with something that is directly fulfilling in my own life. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like getting up and having like an exercise routine to start your day. Right. It's a mental exercise for you.
Right.
And so and it's in something that you love and you enjoy, and you're creative in this time when normally you're just grumpy thinking about traffic. I'm going to work, whatever. It completely changes.
I love being stuck in traffic. I mean, I've always liked being stuck in traffic. No, I've always liked being stuck in traffic because I like listening to the radio. I like listening to audiobooks.
Sure.
I like listening to podcasts. But now there's this added element where it's like, I think of it as almost like being the antithesis to sitting and scrolling social media on your phone.
Yeah.
You know, just like blowing up your brain with just so much negativity and shit talking and just the, you know, outrage and all that crap, and putting that away and getting in the car and just being like, my whole job here is to just sing along and make shit up.
Yeah.
You know, just make up ideas and go, oh, this would sound really cool, and I get excited, and I'm you know, imagining, you know, like Michelangelo talked about the figure in the marble.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, that it makes sense, but I don't.
The way that Michelangelo would go about carving a statue, like he talked about, like if he carves a statue of an angel or something like that, like he sees the angel in the marble, and then his whole job is to just chip away the stone and free the angel that is inside the marble.
That's super cool.
So that's something that Michelangelo talked about. And so when I kind of approach, you know, not at Michelangelo's level, obviously, but I approach songwriting the same way, where I get this song idea and I go, there is a song in here, you know, and all I need to do is play with it and listen to it enough that I can hear the song that is here within the demo. Then... and this is where you come in.
And only then.
Then, and this is, and I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast too, and you and I have talked about, is once we have those figured out where they want to go, we're going to come in to see you this February.
Yeah.
Start working on recording some of this stuff.
That's right.
But some of what we are going to do is going to be recording songs at home, then sending them to you, where you then will reamp them, make them sound the way that they're supposed to sound. Like Tony Lee can sit and do his guitar solos in Chicago.
Absolutely.
And send you, what, an AIFF file? Is that what it's got to be?
That or Wave doesn't.
That or Wave. Just some sort of high-quality file where he can send that to you. And then, like I was trying to explain reamping to Joey at a trim the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah. For those who don't know, what is the process of reamping?
Reamping is taking a guitar DI signal. So you take a guitar, you plug it into a DI box, and then you record the guitar just dry, like not even an amp, or
That's hilarious.
straight into a interface.
It's just the raw signal of it.
and it
Yeah.
Twang.
Yeah.
It is hilarious.
It just sounds like someone playing a ukulele.
Yeah,
Right,
it's
right.
so
Like-
funny.
Have you guys seen those videos of dudes playing riffs it's just all direct?
No.
It's just playing heavy metal riffs and
Oh,
shit.
metal
Oh
with
my
that.
God, that's
Dude, I
so
saw that
hilarious.
recently.
Yeah,
it's like
so
metal without
good.
distortion.
Oh,
Beep, click, click.
Yeah.
It's
It's like, I don't know. It just sounds like MIDI or something.
We just lost.
Oh no!
My
There it
fault.
is. Oh, that's
Come
okay.
on.
No big deal. I can take a head.
You are silenced.
And so you do that, and so you're taking the amp out of the process.
Right.
Or some have a through, so you can record the DI and then go to the amp and put a mic on the amp. But in Tony's case, because he's going to be in Chicago.
Right.
He
He'll
can-
have stems of the project.
Yeah, we'll send him stems or a rough mix, and he can record solos or 3 or 4 different versions and send us the DIs, and then I can run that out and hit a reamp box. And so with the reamp box is it changes so coming out of the interface is at line level, and so when you hit a reamp box, it takes it back down to instrument level, and then also changes the impedance to be what an amplifier wants to see.
Right.
And so then we can pick whatever tone
Any
we
amp
want
sound.
at that point,
Right.
and put a mic on that and record it back into the computer.
Right.
There's a little bit of latency with that, but what I do is I have a signal that's positive only. It only is an upward, so it's send a ping like pink, and you measure that, and then you just adjust it. And you're good to go.
Right.
So you can have, I mean, you can
It's
have people work.
insane, dude.
You can get stuff from around the world to work on, and
Yeah.
and just it's great.
You can do
really great.
you can do anything anymore. You can collaborate with anyone anywhere on the planet. The thing I'm looking forward to is the day that we figure out 100% lag-free real-time
It's just about to say that.
sessions
Yeah.
to where you can actually have remote band practice.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're gonna do that.
That's
I guess
we can't
Klein, is
conceive
that-
of it because we haven't gotten to that point yet.
But it's
Klein, is that
Oh, what do you got,
theoretically-
Klein?
Is that
theoretically possible?
Google has like 200 millisecond ping servers, so
but that's still pretty high for
That's
performance.
yeah, you can't
It's
play
better
with
Can
than-
you jam?
90% of everything.
It would
right
be
now.
so. So a millisecond is approximately a foot, right? Sound moves at 1130 feet per second.
Yeah.
So
I'm so glad you're here.
so if you think about it's like 200 milliseconds doesn't sound like a lot, okay?
4 milliseconds.
But that
is
would be
weird.
you standing like Tony's on stage, and you're at front of house at Pepsi Center.
Oh, so it's like slapback.
Yeah.
Ah.
You got to
For
get that down,
everything.
like right
Just
here.
enough to
there's
totally fuck with you.
there's a right here, just through air.
Right.
There's a 3 millisecond delay from our conversation.
Right.
Now, jamming in a room, you're looking at anywhere from 3 to 10 as band
Right.
members spread out, or if everybody were to cram into here,
Sure.
right? So if we can get it down to that, sure. But we're at the mercy. Oh, here we go. We're at the mercy of the internet.
Right. Right.
Because for every, when you send that signal out, it hits your router, then hits another router, then another router. And all of these they may add a little bit here and a little bit there.
I think it's just a matter of time before they get that dialed in as far as signal speed.
But it has
right?
to, it has to
it's-
be like a direct
but
connection.
it's the physical
Yeah.
hardware
yeah.
adding that latency.
Right, but
That somehow those routers have to get faster.
The-
And if we think that out of the gate, and this is just me being practical and having worked on the IT side, if we think that for an instant they get it that fast and they're going to immediately hand it over to residential
Yeah, no.
broadband, no, I don't
So
Not
think
what's
so.
the
immediate.
what's
But
the
also
not
what's-
immediately. Rich people will get
how
it first,
fast-
and then we'll get it.
how
Right.
fast can you make a trade, like e-trading? Like how fast does that happen?
probably
Is it like the
speed of your
fastest
ping, I would
possible-
guess.
Right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
fastest
Be
possible
based on the ping.
Yeah,
there.
it's speed
Yeah.
of
So
ping.
what are average ping times? Like 100,
Mine
maybe
is like
75
50
to 125
at
milliseconds
my house.
in general? Run a ping
We're talking
right
about
now.
moving beyond the speed
Can
of
you?
trade.
No? Okay.
My
No.
ping
No,
time
he
is
says.
generally
That's fair.
about
I know
3.5 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I've got a kid now,
Sounds like
so
you
I
have
have to be able to
CenturyLink.
do it in a hurry.
They make a pill for that.
You know what I
Jeez.
mean? Like it's like I've
it,
got a very
cream?
limited amount of
Those
time
wipes.
to get it done. So I need to
There's a
ping
wipe for
pretty
that.
quickly.
Oh
Ping.
man, can I tell you guys a funny story?
Yeah.
So recently,
Ping. Yes, you can.
yeah, ping. I forget why, but Brad and I were talking about some weird products that we had seen.
It showed up in a
advertised.
feed or something, or
And
in a
yeah,
video. We were
he
watching
was
a
talking
video.
about-
And I don't know.
Anyway,
It's probably
they're,
because I'm old.
they're premature ejaculation wipes. So these are
Aren't
wipes.
they just baby wipes?
No, you wipe your grundle and they numb you out. So you last longer. Now here's the thing. Brad was like, but I don't. Brad was like, he was like, I don't understand how premature ejaculation wipes. Like I don't remember what they are. And I was like, well, look it up. And he was like, I'm not looking that up. And I was like, all
I'm
right.
not punching that into my search.
I was like,
No,
all right,
no,
I'll
no,
look
no,
this
no.
up. Fucking fine, whatever. So I
Your
looked it
email
up.
list
like,
just
oh, no.
blows up the next day.
I look it up.
No,
I
I'm
get
already
on
in
the
my
website.
40s. Like, I already get that crap.
I finally figured out what was going on with them. We talk about it. We move on with our lives. I'm fucking getting tagged for
And
premature
that's why
ejaculation.
That's why
white
you
bags.
don't do it.
That's why I didn't look it up.
And I'm
not,
so
not on
mad.
my phone.
I'm so mad
Dude,
about
the
it.
fact
That's
that
the
it
way
even
things
got
are
mentioned on
going.
this podcast means that it's going to
no.
start
Oh.
showing up in
You
people's
should
algorithms.
get
Dang
a
it, Google's
sponsorship
been
for that.
listening
You
the
could
whole
come up
time.
with so much shit to say about that.
This episode brought to you by Uncle Harry's Pre-Jack Wipes.
Brain Jack.
Hey, man, I
Pre
don't...
Jack Wax.
I don't want to do anything. Pre-Jack Wax. I don't want to do anything to delay ejaculation because I'm at that age where it's like, if I delay it at all, it's not happening. You know, it's like, I lost it. It's gone. I'll try again later, I guess. You know, where you get like the false start? You ever get that?
No.
Nobody?
I'm
Yeah,
25.
I read it in an article once. I'm just messing with you guys. Never ever happens. Any old hoot. So yeah, I think.
There's almost no coming back from that.
And there it is.
Yeah, he did it. He did it anyway.
There it is. Bing. We made a comeback, man.
Is that the machine that goes?
Nice comeback.
And then
And then
And then
I think, no, in all seriousness, I do think it will. I think I'm going to go ahead and say within 10 years, we will have lag-free connectivity. I think that there will be someone that'll come up with a way, somebody will engineer a way to counteract that.
Dr. Manhattan.
Dr.
so how
Manhattan.
so then
It'll
how
be
do you so what they'll
tachyons
do
for
is
sure.
it's
Yeah.
going to be really, I don't want it to be clear, it's going to be really expensive.
Yeah, it'll be really
so what they're going to do is
expensive.
if you want that, they're going to prioritize your packets on that router.
Mhm.
So we're talking about the end of net neutrality before we get that kind of
Oh,
service.
so yeah, let's
Yeah.
not talk about that because that's
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah.
But it's just fine. But that's where it'll start.
Right. Well, but that's the same thing as with plasma screen TVs, flat screen TVs. So, when the first flat screen TVs came out, the technology was substandard and they were ridiculously
use a
expensive.
24
So that
year old
only
plasma.
super rich people could afford them, right? But then eventually, because those rich people pay for it,
Right.
it makes it so that the companies that built them are able, it bankrolls those companies being able to develop their technology
Right.
and roll out a consumer grade version of it.
Correct. But typically, a family watches a TV. A router sees thousands, if not millions, of connections.
Right.
So
Right.
You also have to think of
But
whether or not
future, man.
no,
Yeah.
I'm
The
Oh, yeah.
future.
I am
future's
with
cool.
you. I'm just still pissed at CenturyLink.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to
Hey, man.
consider a future that doesn't have
Yeah, they're
any
definitely not
incentive
helping.
to actually provide consumers with
Yeah.
any benefits,
Dude.
like CenturyLink does.
Not
Oh,
helping us
dude.
get any
Okay.
closer.
We can jump on CenturyLink for a minute.
So
Hey,
listen,
all right. Dude.
Well, we have a real story that
Yeah.
happened to Jenny and I. They effed us hard, super hard.
How so?
So we have had DSL at the house for 15 years. And we're in an area that's rural. I get it. And they haven't pulled any new fiber or upgraded the line. So as more people moved in or as people started adopting broadband, the line started to become oversubscribed.
Right.
I get that too. We recently switched over to new cell phones. We had good internet at the house. And so we canceled our home number. But when Jenny was talking to us,
phone number to be clear.
yeah, we want to cancel our phone number, cancel that, but keep our internet. We don't want to change our internet. We're good.
Right.
And they said, okay, or the person on the phone, okay, that's fine. She said, I don't want, don't change anything. Don't change our speed. Don't
Right.
change any of that. Well, they took us from 20, which is the best that we could get at the time, 20 down, and 896K up, which is absurd for upstream, but whatever. Jenny pulls down a lot of docs for her work, so that was fine.
Right.
And next thing you know, she's like, the internet seems really slow. Well, let me check it out. Start running some speed tests and start checking on the routers and rebooting the routers and then let the router retrain. They knocked us all the way down to 3, which greatly impacts her work.
Right.
And so she calls and starts raising a stink, and they're like, we're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
She said, but we've been customers of yours.
They don't care.
Like for years.
They don't care.
They're like, you
and
screwed
we've had
up.
this
Yes.
line for years, and all we did was say, we're just turning off phone. We're keeping internet. There should have been, all right, no phone. Boop, boop, and then everything else is fine.
Wow.
And they're like, yeah, tough.
Tough, yeah.
Jenny was like, wait, you screwed up on this. And they're like, correct.
You
and
are right.
She's like, so you're responsible for remedying it. And they're like, yeah, that makes sense. And they're like, so remedy it. And they're
Well,
like,
they also
nah,
have the agents
good.
have a limited number of script options. You know what I mean? No, I just mean it doesn't matter where
No,
they're from
you're
in the
right.
world. They have a
Yeah.
list of things they're allowed
Yeah.
to say.
yeah.
You know, and when I deal with them, and I've dealt them now with them like 3 or 4 times, where they have run speed tests. I've run speed tests from the
Yep.
computer. Everything everything says it's working fine, but practically it is not working
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
My the LTE network on my phone works better than the Wi-Fi does.
That's
Like
crazy.
it's super slow, and I have to upload episodes of podcast and
Yep.
do website stuff and video and photos and stuff. So I got a need for speed, man.
Yeah.
So, but every time I call them, they're like, "Yeah, we ran a test. Everything's doing great." And one of the things the lady kept saying is she was like, "You're getting more than you're paying for." She said that over and over again. You're getting more speed than you're paying for.
mean-
And what they'll do is they'll run a test, and everything on all devices in the house will work lightning fast. But then as soon as I'm off the phone,
Yeah. Yes.
that's a real
Every
thing that
time.
happens. And
That
you
is
call them, and
ridiculous.
they
Every
are
time. Me too.
zero help.
No.
They are zero help. I'm like, dude, this is the 4th time I have called you
Next
guys.
time, try this.
All right.
So the first thing they do, they have you reboot your router,
Right.
and they do the things. You just so as soon as you get on the phone and go, hi, I know you're level 1. I know you're just doing your job, and so this is nothing against you. I've already rebooted my router. I've already done this. I've already done this, and I've already done this. Escalate me to level 2.
There you
No,
go.
escalate you to level 2.
There you go. Hey, a little tip for dealing with CenturyLink for all
It's
our
just tech. Like they're
who totally
like,
don't have a monopoly.
Like first level tech have their
No,
job.
man.
First level tech has their job. It's never their fault.
Yeah,
But that's
yeah.
what Jenny and I do there now. Like we assure you, we've run the troubleshooting steps.
Well, see,
Escalate
and
us to
that's
level 2.
the thing is the people that you're dealing with are they're level 1
They're just-
employees
and
who are
they're
just
doing
doing
their
what they're
job.
supposed to do, and it's like I just need someone to give me an answer or some advice, some way I could make this work.
That's
Yeah.
you just immediately ask for level 2.
Yeah, we're about to pull out and see Xfinity. I don't know, like what kind of option do you have?
I
We have
don't.
really
no
got-
options.
You've got no
literally
recourse.
no options
Yeah.
because you
But
know,
it's not a monopoly for some
no,
reason.
because ISPs totally don't have a chokehold over their regions because they don't play nice
Com-
with each other to get contracts. over
Comcast
whole-
stops like a
areas.
half mile down the road,
oh no way.
and we were like, so there's a lot of homes you could service. And they're like,
Yeah, we're good.
I gotta say,
We're-
I've been way happier with Comcast than with CenturyLink.
Yeah, me too. In the
And they
past.
just screwed me pretty bad too.
Oh, no.
We had a situation happen a few years ago, and they keep coming to our door. It's great. They just keep coming to our door like, "Sir, can I interest you in the vast power of CenturyLink?" Like, no,
no, thank you.
your power sucks.
You will not
Like,
tempt
you
me
have no
again,
power.
Dark
your
Mistress.
superpowers are false.
You only have the
Let me tell you
illusion of
again.
power.
Can I tell you guys again how much you suck? And
Yeah.
you still keep sending
Hey,
people
man,
to my
Hey man,
doorstep.
stand right
It's
there
amazing.
for me, all right? I want to film this while I tell you off.
God, that's got that man. That has got to be the worst job, dude.
Yeah,
going
seriously.
door to door for the like that. That's pretty much going door to door. Like the only thing that would be worse would be going door to door for like R.J. Reynolds. You know, just going door to door, just be like, "Hi, can I interest you in some cigarettes?"
Oh man.
Going door to door for Procter and Gamble, it's
This
be
is the
like,
dude with the
"Listen,
bag, like,
we're
at the
about
bar."
to- would you like to have a glass of Sunny Delight and watch me torture this rabbit in front of you?
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Okay. Sounds good.
Checks out.
Let me get the
Anyway.
lotion. Anyway. So, we were talking about the future.
We're talking about
we?
you.
We were
and
talking
MF
about the
Ruckus.
future.
I want to know about MF Ruckus.
What about? What would you like to know?
Well, you were talking about where you guys are headed. And
Oh,
I
I
know,
mean-
I know you've got your 5-year plan.
We were just really, the plan has changed a lot for us. You know, we went, I personally have been through a lot in the last year, and with the loss of Parker, with the birth of my son, with my brother passing away, with Tony moving, it's really about trying to figure out a way to keep it sustainable in the long term and to keep people engaged and interested and to keep ourselves relevant enough that we can continue to do the thing that we like, which is traveling the world and playing music together. Realistically, we can probably do maybe 21 to 30 shows a year. Tops, pretty much.
Still pretty good.
I don't even think we
It's
did 20
really
shows.
not bad.
I don't even think we did 20 shows last year.
Sure.
So our goal is to create enough quality stuff to engage with the people who do give a shit about us, do like us, and do like what we do, that when we do go on tour, it's something that is sustainable, where people are going to come see us with the knowledge that we don't come every day.
Right.
You know, I come every day mostly in the shower. Hey-o.
Hey.
Well,
Nice.
but so really it's become, like, especially after Ransom was born, like the kind of inside joke that Tony and I had was just like, what's the hurry? You know?
I mean,
So in order to keep that, to do that, it becomes about workflow and it becomes about, you know, all right, let's batch these things.
Yeah.
Like right now we're batching these demos into a batch of project file. Like we have a batch of demos that we're batching into projects that we will eventually take up to the studio with you and we will batch. And then we will steadily release those.
Right.
Like the thing that you and I talked about when I first went in
yeah.
is just now starting to happen. You know, we recorded that batch of songs that we did with you, and we're just now getting to the point where we're breaking them off one at a time and mixing them and mastering them. And Jake is basically one book ahead of Macy
Cool.
on the comic. So Macy is, while he's waiting on audio from Alex, who does the soundscapes and narration tracks, while he's waiting on that, which should get done this week, Macy is animating book 3 while Jake is drawing book 4.
Right.
And then I pay them a little bit of what
Sure.
I can, and they know that that's the maximum amount I can do, and they have a small but consistent output. You know, I get like a page a week from Jake, something like that. He sends it over, and it's like I share that on our socials, and we keep it going. You know, eventually, I want to get to the point where we're able to produce, you know, one of those every 8 weeks, a new single. But with the new stuff that we're bringing in, we will have stuff to give to people on something of a consistent basis for the foreseeable future.
Right.
And that makes it so that, you know, we're able to create these opportunities where we go out and play for people, or our label drops us on tour or something like that. You know, we're not going to be going on tour 6 months out of the year. That's just never going to happen for us. It's not. And maybe when we're way older and our kids are grown up and stuff,
maybe.
you know, who knows?
But a lot of bands don't do this.
Yeah,
Like,
and I think the industry is changing a lot to where that's much more feasible.
right.
And so, and a lot of times, honestly, the workflow is the only thing that keeps me in it. You know, it's the thing that creates the structure so when I start getting the Alaska thoughts, you know, the protocol is what gets me through those waves of disinterest or depression or futility or whatever. It's like, well, I said I'd do this, so I'll get this done. And then it's like, well, I also said I'd do this next thing, so I'll get this done. It's just like completing the small mini tasks that are right in front of me, and they add up to stuff. So my plan, it's not even really a 5-year plan, as I have this big ideal of where I would like us to get to. You know, I would like us to get to the point where we do 1 tour a year and we're playing, you know, theater-sized places. 1,000 seaters would be the shit. If
It's a
I
good market.
dude, if I was doing
Yeah.
a tour every year where I was playing 21,000 seaters, to me that would be like I have arrived. I am a fucking rock star. Like that is like 5-star career as far as I'm concerned. Wherever we land between where we are now and that, it's all gravy to me, baby.
Cool.
You know what I mean? And I'm so glad I found you guys, because every step of the way of kind of adjusting that, you have been very supportive of and very accommodating to that trajectory.
Absolutely.
You know, like I saw you guys do, like when we originally started working together, the only thing we had committed to was doing an Evergroove live session because we thought that was really cool.
Oh yeah.
And when I said, I was like, hey, but what if instead of doing it in the studio, because we have to gig while Tony's in town, what if we just did the whole thing at the Little Bear and invited people to come watch it live and recorded it like that? And you were like, yeah, okay, great. Awesome. You're like, that's not the way we typically do it, but yeah, sure, sounds fun. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And we made it happen, and we created that content, and we put it out. And then it's like, hey, what if we adopted the same idea, but we went up there and we just batched out, or what if we wanted to do a weekly series? And you were like, it would be smarter to come up and just spend an entire day batching out 16 songs.
Yeah.
We should do that. And I was like, yeah, that is the way to do it.
Yeah.
We started doing that, you know. We did the album stuff, and it's just like, we're gonna build these songs, and we'll start piecing them out one at a time, and then we'll come in with another batch on the back end of that. And you were like, great, sounds awesome.
Yeah.
How can I make that happen? You know?
Well, I want to work with you, not against you.
Yeah.
Right. And it's your vision. So
And
help me help you.
I really I appreciate that that's your default. I would like to know some of, celebrating 13 years.
Yeah.
That is a big fucking deal, man. Especially in an industry that it changes so much all the time. Like you talked about music business degrees.
Sure.
Ty got a music business degree
Oh.
in the early 2000s.
Awesome. Did
But
you do it through Denver? Or
He did it through CU Denver.
Yeah. Cool.
But when he graduated, the whole industry changed.
Oh, sure.
Like Napster happened while he was in college.
Oh, so oh my God.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh, I got it.
So
Yeah.
the entire industry changed when he came out.
He came out and was like, well, now what?
Yeah, exactly. So I want to know. So that's just to give scope as to like how much the industry can change in a decade, and you're in a decade and a quarter essentially, decade and a third. What have been some of the proudest moments for you on those 13 years, along the path of those 13 years? Just like the highest points for you.
Wow.
The things that like immediately pop into your head is just like the things that were just like kept you going through 13 years of trying to build a studio in an insane asylum of an industry.
Here it is. The thing, regardless of how to frame this, not saving words, but like how to present it respectfully. It's the one thing, like when you said that keeps you going. There's a mastering engineer that although I only worked with a couple times, he imparted wisdom to me that stuck with me, and and this story is a little twofold, and the preface to the story is, you don't know the words that you say and the actions that you have. You don't know the long-lasting effect that they could potentially have on people.
Right.
And so I don't do it well, but I try to choose my words not carefully. I'm not trying to self-censor, but there was a mastering...
being deliberate.
Yeah.
Trying to be impeccable with your word.
A mastering engineer named Dominic Maida, who worked out of Air Show in Boulder. And this was before I started mastering, and I was just getting started myself. And he worked with some
Air Show's big.
Air Show is a big deal.
They
It's
did
still
Dave
a big deal, to
Matthews
be fair.
Band, and like they do.
Like Dave and Ann are still cranking. He built a spot outside of Boulder, and they still do amazing work and hold them in the highest regards.
Right.
Those guys, when they were in their facility in Boulder, not on Dave's property, but in a commercial building, Dominic was there, and a buddy of mine at the time who has a studio said, "Hey, I'm mastering a track. Why don't you come down and hang out?" I'm like, sure. And so we were standing outside the door of Dominic's studio. He was making a cup of coffee. I don't know what he was doing. Or he was loading in the tracks. I don't know what it was. And outside his door, he had a platinum record of, I'll remember it in a second. It's not a band that I was incredibly interested in, but my buddy at the time point was like, "That's fucking cool." And Dominic heard that.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't walk out and go, "Oh, you get lucky or whatever." He got really serious. Like, he got very sagely. And he looked right at us and goes, "Everyone gets one if you stay in the game. If you get up every day and just keep doing the very best work you can, everybody gets there." And turned around and walked into his office. We just went,
Really?
yeah. Like, just out of nowhere.
Did you feel your nerves calm when he said that, Gordo?
And I just went,
It's quite reassuring.
Did you feel that? Like, you said that, and I just went, "Oh, thank God."
I don't remember. Yeah. It's weird because I remember
Seriously?
I remember walking, like, my buddy at the time and I, we looked at each other. We kind of shook our heads. We're like, right on. We walked through the door. I don't remember the rest of the session.
Right.
I remember the drive home because I was just constantly thinking about what Dominic said. Now, unfortunately, Dominic passed away about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But when it gets hard, and running a studio and running a small business is hard, really hard, I remember Dominic's words.
Right.
And so
And you put in a lot of hours, man. Like, you run yourself into the ground up there.
I have to
Like,
huge shout out to Jenny for tolerating this crap.
You guys both, you and Jenny both go all out for your clients, and it's dude, it's awesome to see. Dude, you saying that? First of all, I don't know if you know, we did master a record at Air Show.
Which one?
Fourth year freshman, Rock Your Box was mastered by Air Show.
Who did that one? Was it?
I can't remember.
'Cause
It's in
what
the
year?
liner notes.
What year? Come on.
2007.
Was it?
I think.
Oh, you wouldn't remember.
Dude, it was
I don't
so
think-
long ago, and it was so. We
Wonder if it was Matt Sandowski.
years ago, it might have been years ago. Tay's dad, Tate, was teaching painting lessons to this guy who said he was a music producer.
Mhm.
And the guy's name was Lance Bendixson. We worked with it.
I remember the name.
Yeah, you remember Lance Bendixson.
I never got to meet Lance. But
And basically, the truth is, Lance was part of a different period of the industry that was dying because of the way the industry had gone.
Yeah.
So he and a lot of people like him were trying to figure out ways to stay in the game in a consultant capacity, in whatever they could do, sell their services as a producer.
Exactly.
So he had met Tate and found out that we had a band, and we were one of the bands that he worked with.
Oh, cool.
And, there were things about it, like we borrowed some money from some people, and we put it into things like mastering at Air Show, and we put it into things like mixing and tracking at Phase 4. And, there's things from that world of the business where they go, "Oh, you really want to get it at that place.
Gotta do it there."
Yeah. And you really want a producer there. And this was when they were really trying to turn people away from the glittery horizons of the future, what would now be the future of recording and the change in the market.
Right.
So I appreciate everything that he did, and I want that to go on the record, that I appreciate everything that Lance did with us, and we learned so very much from that process. Despite the fact that it was an expensive lesson, and despite the fact that it was part of kind of an old way of doing things.
Sure.
We got a tremendous amount of value, and that album that album set the stage for everything that would come afterwards. But just as a side anecdote, we did the mastering there at Air Show.
Cool.
And they really did do incredible work, and it was fun to go in and You know, they've got every kind of speaker you can think of. And
Oh,
they're running your song through all the different speakers, all the way down to little cell phone speakers. You know, it's got to sound good through
then
everything.
that had to be Matt Sandowski or Jim Wilson.
Jim Wilson, I think, is who it was.
Jim is amazing. He's still actively mastering out of his basement in Boulder.
God, I'd have to check the liner notes.
I
but
love that man.
If you look up Fourth Year Freshman, Rock Your Box,
it's got to be Jim.
that was the album. That is the most expensive album we've ever made. And was really beyond our reach at that point, as far as like we weren't that good, and those guys helped us sound better and helped us get better as a band.
Jim knows rock and roll, man.
Well, and Ralph Patlin at Phase 4 Studio, you know, really put us through the ringer, and
I didn't know Phase 4.
Phase 4 is cool. It's in Tempe. That's where Megadeth did the Euthanasia record
for some
there.
reason I thought you were talking about something here.
No,
Okay, cool.
Phase 4 in Tempe, Arizona. You know, I mean, and this was during a time where we were like, we got to make our press kit and we got to make our da-da-da-da-da. You know, we were trying to be
It's
professional.
what you do.
Yeah, but for you to say that, and maybe it's wishful thinking, and maybe it's like some sort of just ease that comes over me from confirmation bias, you know, that's what you want to hear.
It's just simple perseverance.
That is what you want to hear as an artist, as a business owner, as like anyone who gets up every day and keeps showing up and doing the thing that they really like to do, despite the fact that the odds are stacked against them.
Right.
Is you really want to believe that you're going to get your one if you keep showing up.
Right.
You know, that some opportunity will present itself. You know, I try to remind myself of that, but I can see why that moment would stand out in your mind. And that was early on, right?
It was. I don't remember the exact date, like what year that was. Probably. We was 09.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. It was 08. It was super early.
Yeah.
And it was good that I heard that early, because I mean it's like if we wanted the easy route, we could have opened like a sandwich shop.
Right.
I could have
Or a bar.
Or a bar. Like the thing that.
Or
like,
started selling cocaine.
I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway. Odd jobs and all.
Yeah. I got a lot of hustles.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of directions that we could have gone just to more quickly be financially stable, but we chose a creative industry, and it's. Yep. I mean, it was years before I even paid myself a salary, and so I mean, that's the one thing I think about is just Dominic's words and then perseverance and like sticking with that. But through that, some of the highlights have been backstage at Red Rocks, running sound at Red Rocks.
Right.
I consider it an honor to be recording MF Ruckus.
Thank you so much,
I've
man.
recorded Devotchka live, and I've.
That's right. You did record Devotchka live.
There's just been stuff that like the phone rings and you pick it up and you're like, oh, this weekend?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You guys also worked with the Yoppers on their first album, did you?
Did not. There was. We took the artwork down. There was a poster in the live room. The Yoppers were a part of. So people don't realize this, but our live broadcasts that we do once a month, we've been doing them since 2010.
Okay.
And the Yoppers were. We contacted them to do a live broadcast, and actually it goes a little bit further back. At one point in time, I had a record label with a buddy, and the Yoppers pinged us to be on the label.
Oh, early on.
They kind of liked the aesthetic and the vibe. We slept on it too long, and they signed to whatever.
No, they got picked up fast. Yeah.
Yeah, that I don't think that shook out for them on that label, but they're on the label they're on now is definitely treating them right.
They're doing well. Yeah.
These guys are great.
I keep trying to get Nate Cook on the show. He won't answer.
Oh.
He won't answer me.
Oh,
it's like, come on,
Nate.
Come on, Nate. Let's do a podcast. Look, we're having fun.
Come on.
Everybody comes. This is also a fun. This is a fun tool to put the screws to people.
It's
like
great.
you get to put pressure on people.
Come on, Nate.
Like, come on, Nate. Come on, Nate.
Oh, well, next time I see him. What,
yeah. Tell him to come on the podcast.
But they did one of our live broadcasts.
Yeah. Oh, they did early on.
Yeah, and Nate was losing his voice. He was getting laryngitis. They were leaving for tour the next day.
Ooh, bummer.
They were like that morning. They were gonna go the next morning. They were gonna go pick up their CDs and hit the road, kind of stuff. Like,
wow.
But no, we didn't work on that first album.
I just remember seeing
Yeah.
something Yoppers related in there.
Well,
so I
because they were
wasn't sure.
kind enough to give us one of those posters when we were.
That's really cool.
Yeah, they were heading, and then we hung it up because it was just cool to have that. But you won't find that broadcast because Nate's voice was just so crapped out. He's like, "Don't, just please." He's like, "Don't." So
Well,
it's still on the hard drive though.
my favorite memories, like creatively in the studio, are all around Evergroove. You know, they're all around going up there and like bringing the girls in and forming the Ruckettes and having them sing stuff and
so
you know,
cool.
getting to practice arranging and conducting,
Yep.
you know, vocal parts, or, you know, when we brought Will up or we brought Vaughn up to record stuff, or John Hagel coming up and doing saxophone stuff, or just bringing up fans and friends to do gang vocals.
Yeah.
You know, our friends from Oklahoma City going up there. Some of the sessions where it would just be a couple of us going up and just screwing around.
Right.
Like when we were working on Equilibrium and I got to sit and play with Tony's guitar pedals and make noises with him while he was just doing screaming feedback and stuff.
That's that
you know?
creative process that you want the studio to be transparent. Now, hey, can we just do? Yep, sure, we'll figure that out. But
Many studios, they have this kind of "don't touch it, you'll break it" almost type of vibe to them, or, you know, like time is money, and like every time you go to the bathroom, you're basically just spilling dollar bills on the ground. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I love that we can go up and spend a day with you and feel safe trying whatever it is that we want to do. And if any of the stuff is that we're putting out now is worth a shit, it's because of you guys and because of what you guys have done to make our music sound the best that it possibly can. And I wanted to bring you guys on here because I'm super excited about the single. Man,
I am too.
We haven't put something out in 3 years. Like, I want to say 2000.
Really?
It's a Mess was 2017.
What a mess.
Or 2 years. 2 years. Sorry.
It's a mess.
2 years.
What a mess.
Yeah. That we haven't put that out since 2017, and it was fall of 2017, so almost exactly 2 years.
Yeah. No.
And
that went fast.
Yeah, man, it flew by. And now we're at the point where it's like, you know, like I said, we're lined up to be able to start giving the world these songs, and we're in the early stages of the campaign. If Gordo will vouch for this, on the last episode of the podcast, I was just kind of like, I had a lot of anxiety about what was going to happen with this release. You know, just was anybody going to give a shit? Was it going to turn into anything? And it hasn't led to an astonishing amount of press coverage or anything, but there have been a lot of nice little surprises that have happened, like, you know, getting featured on that Loudwire playlist,
which is great,
which is huge, you know.
But it's also fresh to market. Like,
it's brand new.
It's not like we're 2 years down there, like, oh, it didn't do what I hoped it would do.
Yeah, I know. It's like
it's 2 weeks old.
Well, mostly
2 weeks young.
My major goal with it is, and when I sat down and even though you're not supposed to say you have a publicist, when I sat down with our publicist Groovy, when I sat down with him and I talked about goals, he actually mentioned Loudwire. He was like, "Do you guys want to pay to do an exclusive release on Loudwire? I mean, what are you guys thinking? Are you wanting to get something big for this?" And I was like, what I want is this to lead to, I want this to convert in some way. I want it to convert into the next opportunity, or I want it to convert to more support through Patreon or investors, or something. I want it to either lead to opportunity or resource.
Sure.
Is what I told. I was like, that is my goal with this, because I want to see the motion comics keep getting made.
Yeah.
I want to see the songs keep getting made, and I have no delusions of grandeur that one of these is going to come out and blow the band up. You know,
Gotcha.
I know that each thing needs to lead to the next thing. So the only, like, the biggest of all hopes that I have for this is that enough people hear about it that it leads them to take an interest in the band and just lift us up a little bit.
Sure.
You know, get us the next rung up the ladder, or carry us to the next wave.
That next thing.
You know,
Like
carry
we
us
were
to the
talking
next
about.
wave.
Yep.
Because it feels like what it's been for a long time is a big wave, and then, okay, now what? What are we going to do? You know, you do a big tour or you do a full album or something like that, and then there's just all this space after the fact.
Right.
So what I'm trying to do is make a lot of smaller waves and then just have each wave carry me to the next wave, carry us to the next wave, and keep us in the game.
What's going to happen? They have so Jenny and I just went to Iceland.
Right.
And when you were in Iceland, did you read about sneaker waves?
No.
So what sneaker waves can do, you just almost described, is a wave kind of builds upon a wave. And so you can be on a beach where the waves are crashing 12, 15 feet from you.
Right.
But there'll be this kind of underlying current that gets, we didn't necessarily understand exactly how these work. It was just signs that were like,
Well, they sneak up on you.
you will die. Like, oh,
They're sneaker. They're
like,
literally
do
sneaky
not turn
waves.
your back on the ocean. Like, okay. So
What?
it's what'll happen is these waves will start to build, and then out of nowhere, this wave will just kind of like surge way up, and just it's a big wave. It just crashes and pulls you straight out. Like people die every year from them. But so
That's the power of compounding interest and marginal gains,
There you go.
man.
Honestly, yeah.
So you're building sneaker waves.
I really like that. All right. Well, folks watching the show, go out there and build yourself some sneaker waves by making little tiny microwaves below the surface.
I'm wearing some sneaker waves.
I was like,
microwave every
that was
night.
immediately what I thought of. I was like, oh, are they making shoes in Iceland
That's
that are
right.
like the new
sneaker waves.
sneaker waves?
Yeah, that's what I
Making
thought.
waves across the nation.
I figured ocean trash.
Yeah.
Like every time a shipping container full of sneakers goes over,
That's right, sneaker waves.
you get
That's right,
sneaker
that's right.
waves that wash up.
Container
on the
just
shores of
rolls
Iceland.
up on the busts open.
That's fucking great.
No, it's just about you.
Watch out for
the
those
little
waves of sneakers.
little waves.
Or
sneaker
like
waves.
if you like work in a sneaker warehouse and like you pull the wrong load-bearing sneaker out of the
Oh, no.
pile. There's like an
Sneaker
avalanche,
wave.
a wave of sneaker avalanche that just comes down
right.
on you.
That's also a sneaker wave.
Yeah, that is a sneaker wave.
These are all sneaker waves, scientifically speaking. Of
Can you
course.
imagine how much it would hurt to get hit with a sneaker wave? Because they don't have any of the, and it wouldn't.
Very thuddy.
No. Here's the thing. There wouldn't be any feet in them, so it wouldn't be like getting kicked in the face.
No.
But it's all fresh factory rubber. So
Yeah,
you'd get
still kind
all
of
those
rigid.
pieces of rubber that would just be like
Yeah.
pulling on your hairs.
Yeah.
You know, just the way fresh rubber feels when it touches your
I
hair.
try not
or
to
your
rub it
skin or
on my
something.
face, but
Yeah, I don't
That's
really
cool.
go about rubbing
Okay.
rubber on my face.
Cool.
it's cool.
Well, I think we're gonna call it. I think we're at 3 hours. That's good.
Cool.
I think we're gonna call it there. Guys, thank you so much for coming on the show.
No,
I
thank
really
you,
do
Aaron.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Gordo. Thank you, Klein.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gordo. Thanks,
Thank
Klein.
you. It was
and,
awesome having
thanks,
you
Brad.
guys here, all
Thank
of you
you.
guys.
I think
Thank you
we
so
all need
much.
to give ourselves a little pat on the back for 80 goddamn episodes.
You're goddamn right.
Yeah. I mean, 100 will definitely be the big party, but I think it's just like age. It's zeros and fives. You got to have a little mini celebration for that.
There you go.
And thanks for being here on our 80th episode, man. I'm
Thanks for
excited.
having us.
I'm excited to see where we're at by episode 100. The podcast, the stuff we're doing
That's
with
right.
Evergroove.
Yep.
I'm excited to see where Granny Tweed's at. I'm excited to see with the live stream setup. But Ethan, by the way, you are welcome to come every single week if you like. You are more than
you go.
welcome.
You
to
knew
be
that
here,
was
man.
coming, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah. He's like, I know. Well, okay, so we close every episode with a one for the homies shout out
Okay.
when I remember. And I definitely included in this, I want to find some of your old stuff. So where can I find some of your old stuff where you're playing guitar?
I
that we
don't think
put on
you
the
can. If you dig deep on Spotify, there's a song called Sergeant Snorkel and the Lion Riots.
by
Guy in the Middle. But we didn't release. So what's interesting is we released the album, but this was before Spotify.
right.
And the band Guy in the Middle, we actually did a little 2-week tour with Fyodor and Babushka. And
Oh, cool.
yeah. It was me, Byron Jaco, who's now in Gort vs. Goom, and his significant other at the time, Stephanie
Gort
on
versus
bass.
Goom is one of my favorite bands.
That drummer
ever.
was,
That's really cool.
Yeah, Byron's great. Yeah, we recorded, and at the time we did that, rent was cheap. So, and he's a drumming madman. He just, at least I haven't talked to him in a little while, but at the time I think he practiced every day, like hours. And so he's like, well, instead of doing like practicing my house, rent's cheap. I'm gonna go rent 1,000 square foot space.
Right.
And we recorded there.
Yeah.
So we put this out. We kind of toured on it, and then I quit to focus on the studio. I already knew that was going to be a time consuming, and that's the direction I wanted to go. Fast forward to Spotify, and we're. I'm sorry. I'm leaving out Ryan Deschel, and that's not fair. His name is now Sedgley. He took his significant other's name, but so Ryan Deschel sang on that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ryan was over. We were hanging out. We had a couple beers, and we're like, I wonder if somehow Guy in the Middle's on Spotify.
And you found it on there?
We punch in Guy in the Middle. There it is. So it's out there without our permission, to be clear.
Cool.
I just found it.
Yeah.
But we also don't care.
All right. Okay, so I've got an idea for the one for the homies this week. So we're going to put out something that Brad's on, and I want to put something that Ethan Kotel is on.
Dope.
Because you're a pretty accomplished musician. Like,
hey, thanks.
you're-
Nobody's
you're-
ever called me that before.
no, but I mean, you're like really good. Like you're into like proggy, like high musician, like high art metal.
I'm super techie.
Yeah, you're really into
Yeah.
the so what should we look up of yours and put on the end of the
Oh
episode?
God. Well, I've never done anything techie because you see, I don't practice enough to have good technique.
Okay, well,
But,
I want to hear something. I want to hear something of yours on the episode.
Yeah, that's fine. So, is it all right if it's not on Spotify?
Where would it be?
It would be on Bandcamp.
On Bandcamp? That's fine.
Cool.
We can pretty
So-
much, and you can even send us a link, whatever
Cool.
works. We've not had a problem finding a homies track yet.
Nice.
Yeah.
So my favorite band I ever was in was called Springfield. A super unoriginal name, and the reason I call it a super unoriginal name is because you can find it at officialspringfield.bandcamp.com. Because of course springfield.bandcamp.com was taken,
Right,
so
right.
that sucks.
Official
but,
Springfield.
yeah, this is back in like 2013. That's how I got my start recording. Was this dude was like, "Hey, want to record our album?" And I was like, yeah, sure.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
What
I'm not-
song?
yes, I
What
am.
song
I'm
should
not
we
the
play?
right guy.
What song should we play?
Play Alaska. It's pretty cool.
Alaska,
Yeah.
Springfield, geographical metal. Anyway, man, I think that's going to be good. Thanks so much for listening to and watching the motherfucking podcast, episode 80. Be sure to check us out on Spotify and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Our website, mfruckus.com. We've even got some stuff on SoundCloud,
Stitcher.
Last.fm, Stitcher. Oh, yeah, the podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. And most of all, go on YouTube and check out The Front Lines of Good Times, Chapter 2, our newest motion comic. We are really fucking proud of it. And the soundtrack to that is our new double single, which just came out. I like the term double single.
Yeah,
I've
that's
been
good.
throwing that around. Our new double single, Making a Killing and You Only Live Forever, which was recorded at Evergroove Studio. Big shout out to Rodeo Star Records and Napalm Records for pushing the release, man. We really appreciate it. And you guys can really help us out by streaming it and sharing it with your friends and helping get the numbers up so the label has a reason to keep us around. Serious. Dude, that's one of my biggest concerns is them just being like, yes, I know you're very excited, but these numbers are pitiful. We're going to have to drop you from the label. Anyway. And she was like, listen, we like you. We really like you.
But
Yeah, you're just the nicest guys, but man, I mean, you guys are pretty deluded, aren't you? Yeah, all right. Well, it's cute and all, but we can't waste any more money. There it is. Like, that's like my biggest fear. Anyway, go check it out on all those platforms and check out the comic. If you go to our website, mfruckus.com, the very first thing that pops up is a link to a PDF of the comic where you can read it yourself and listen along with the comic audio on Spotify. We released the single version, which is without any of the intro stuff or effects. We released the cinematic version, which has an extended intro. We released an instrumental and then we released the comic audio so people can read along with the comic
Nice.
and listen to that. So check it out, man. It's an interactive release. Check it out, man. Thank you so much for listening to and watching the motherfucking podcast. I'm Aaron Howell.
I'm Gordo.
And we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.